Stay with us. Stage 14, right now on OLN. This is the Saab Tour pre-race show, and we welcome you to get you set as the tour rolls into stage 14 from Montélimar, where yesterday's stage finished, into Gap. There'll be some climbing today, not the big mountains of the Alps, but this brings the race to the foothills of the Alps. Welcome to our enchanted forest here at the finish line in our OLN mobile studio. Al Trautwig along with Bob Roll. There is some climbing today, just not the mountains that are coming up in the Alps. And yesterday, when Phonak and Floyd Landis controlled the Peloton, they basically allowed the breakaway to get a half an hour in front. So in a sense, they gave the yellow jersey away with the hope that it's just a loan.
Yes, they gave the jersey away to Oscar Pereiro, knowing that he started the stage nearly a half an hour down. They gave him nearly 30 minutes of advantage and lost the jersey on the day. We'll have to see if that works out.
Stage 13, and out they went. 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes away, quickly became 11, 12, 13, and it just never stopped, and it never seemed as though Phonak cared.
Phonak not really defending the yellow jersey. Floyd Landis saying the last couple of days, if they lost the jersey, it would not be the end of the world. And that's to, I think he was referring to a man that's lowly on the GC, but Oscar Pereiro, a solid pro. Here's the attack that separated the breakaway, and this is the attack that netted Jens Voigt the stage win, putting some time between himself and Oscar Pereiro. This is the jockeying for position at the end, but when Jens Voigt dives for the line, Pereiro has no answer, and the tall German restoring some credibility to a very, very damaged CSC squad since the start of this tour. Great ride by the German on CSC.
So the sprint came down to two men who had won stages in the Tour de France before. Oscar Pereiro knew that he had the yellow jersey when the Peloton came across the line, 29 minutes and 57 seconds behind him. So he almost couldn't believe it, but he was the yellow jersey wearer. The man who used to ride for Phonak wears Le Maillot Jaune for the first time in his career. And when the stage was over, Frankie Andreu went over to find out exactly how incredible this feeling was for Oscar Pereiro of Illes Baleares.
Today is very important for you. How great is it to have the yellow jersey?
For me, it's the best day on the cycling, because it's the first position in Tour. The yellow jersey is incredible, and I don't think nothing is possible.
This morning, did you think you'd be able to take the yellow jersey?
No, this morning only things in attack for winning the stage, and after day is yellow jersey incredible. No, but before I don't think this possibility is 30 minutes is too much.
It's fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
The hope has to be that Cas Depon Illes Baleares will defend the yellow jersey today and cycle hard and keep an eye on every break. Pereiro gets the yellow. 129 back is Floyd Landis now, and then after that it's basically the way it was yesterday because everyone stayed in the Peloton with Floyd.
Everybody's on the same time as Floyd Landis, except Pereiro, who goes from 42nd to first place.
Michelob Ultra with a look at the overall standings. Here are the American efforts. Levi Leipheimer now 7:08 behind. George Hincapie 24:28. Jaroslav Popovic continues to be a player for Discovery. So now we have the way the race played out. Floyd Landis allowing the yellow jersey to a man that finished right behind him in the general classification a year ago. Floyd was 9th and Pereiro was 10th. What is it about Pereiro's abilities that they think they can take the yellow jersey back?
Well, from one season to the next, you don't know how your form's going to be in one particular race. Oscar Pereiro, a top professional, was very good at last year's Tour, hasn't had a great season so far, also struggled quite a bit in the Pyrenees. So if you're Team Phonak, you don't see him as a threat, but if he regains that form that he showed last year in the Tour, when he finished in the top 10 on GC, you've got a major problem on your hands.
We now have had 7 different men wear the yellow jersey in this Tour de France. That's one shy of the record presented by Lenovo as we check out who's wearing what. David De La Fuente of Saunier Duval. Robbie McEwen, without question, has been the speedy man in green. And in yellow now we have Oscar Pereiro, who dueled it right down to the wire with Jens Voigt yesterday. So Pereiro in yellow, McEwen in green. David De La Fuente is the king of the mountains, and without question, Markus Folden of Germany has been the best young rider. So now it's time for Bob Key's Guide to the Tour. Bob, where are you taking us to today?
I think we'll take a look at the yellow jersey gambit. Sometimes it's essential to give up the jersey if you're going to be able to keep it all the way to to Paris. One thing you always have to consider is the human resources that are available to you as a team director. You can never overestimate how much energy your riders have in the bike race. That way, you can only do as much tempo as you're capable of defending the yellow jersey. At the end of the day, whether or not it's tactically smart, you have to make calculated risks and sacrifice throughout the Tour de France to win the yellow jersey. Sometimes riders get dropped after doing a tremendous amount of work. That's a risk you have to take as a team director. Phonak unwilling to take that risk on yesterday's stage and have lost the jersey because of that.
I took an unofficial sampling of the opinions in the media compound today, and if you don't understand all this, that's cool, because a lot of the experts don't. If you do understand what Floyd Landis and Phonak did, that's fine too, because some people totally do understand it. When we come back on the Saab Tour pre-race show, we once again look into the history of what's coming after the rest day, the legend of Alpe d'Huez, plus our yellow jersey picks.
The 2006 Tour de France pre-race on OLN is presented by Saab. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. The turbocharged Saab 9.3 sports sedan with an estimated 31 miles per gallon highway. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets. Take flight in the 9.3 sports sedan for under $27,000.
OLN's having a summer bash, and we're bringing the punch. Every Thursday, it's Fight Night, featuring live bouts and classic clashes. The best little leaguers from around the globe swing for the fences at the Cal Ripken World Series. Plus, World Team Tennis smashes right through to the finals. The battle of the sexes explodes on Survivor Vanuatu. And no bash is complete without the beat. The PBR returns with a vengeance. OLN Summer Bash. It's a guaranteed hit.
Stage 14, our OLN mobile studio, is at the finish line in Gap. That was built in the 1300s, if you can believe it. That's the kind of history we're rolling past today. The tour continues on OLN to Gap. This will be stage 14 today, and the Tour de France is made up of 20 stages. Tomorrow is the rest day. The Pyrenees behind us, the Alps ahead of us, and Alpe d'Huez will be right out of the box after that rest day. But today, we go from Montélimar all the way to Gap. Now, there will be a Category 2 today near the end. There'll be other climbing as well. There could be a break, there could be a sprint. We'll make our picks in a moment. And there's a Category 2 in the middle as well, presented by AMD. It's like going from Los Angeles to San Diego, and probably you need a detour like an Aviara or Rancho Santa Fe to get into the hills a little bit. 4 categorized climbs and 2 intermediate sprints. Al Trautwig along with Bob Roll, Paul Sherwen, and Phil Liggett. Well, the big debate after stage 13 yesterday was, did Floyd Landis and Phonak do the right thing in giving a breakaway almost a half an hour, and in the end, the yellow jersey? John Lalang is his team coach, and here's Floyd Landis as well.
It was a strategy in the morning already in the bus. We say if in the breakaway, it's a breakaway with rider at more than 30 minutes, we can leave them go.
Whether we catch them or not, we wanted to ride a certain speed. I think people are going to look at us to control the race no matter what happens, whether we have the lead or not. So to me, it's better to save our team. We've still got 9 days left to go.
We prefer to leave it now and to have a good strategy in the next mountain stages, also in the stage of tomorrow, and then we'll see.
If I have it in Paris and I don't win any stages, that'll be fine.
Well, we had a situation yesterday where from within the Peloton, there was almost a mocking attitude about what Phonak had done. I thought when it was 28 and it got down to 27, and I thought, okay, they've taken their rests, and yet they're going to still keep the yellow jersey. But then things got weird at the end. What's your stand on this?
Well, I don't think it would have taken much effort, in fact, if they'd have just lifted the tempo in the last 20 kilometres and just kept him in the yellow jersey, Al. Let's face it, in the days of Lance Armstrong, he would never have allowed such a move to happen. It indicates to me that the Phonak team is not going that well, and therefore they wanted rid of the responsibility so they can come back and fight another day.
Well, you know, I'm a bit old school, and I think Bob would agree with me. Once you have the yellow jersey, the most important thing to do is to keep hold of it. And I agree with Phil, it wouldn't have taken very much effort over the last just 10 kilometers, 6 miles of the race, to save the yellow jersey. But on the other hand, I understand their tactics. I understand that they're worried about the last week of the Tour. I understand that they're going into the big mountain passes, Alpe d'Huez, La Toussuire, the big long stage into Morzine. They want to have a strong team. And yesterday for them, it was just a case of trying to get a little bit of rest.
I think that to give away the yellow jersey is a bit of a disaster in this situation. It wouldn't have required that much more work to keep it, and it sends a very mixed message to the other riders in the peloton. These guys like Menchov and Evans are caged animals. You don't want to give them any excuse to doubt your superiority as a team. We saw Discovery crush the resolve of all of the riders in the race, and Phonak, by sending this message that they are vulnerable, is not the thing that you want Denny Menchov to take with him into the mountains, or Cadel Evans, or Collar Sastra, or any of the other men that are contenders for this bike race. So
my question is, would Lance have ever done it?
No.
Well, I have a little theory, and I might be wrong, but remember that Oscar Pereiro was on the same team as Landis last year, and they knew each other pretty well. Now he's moved on to be in his own team, not riding quite so well. Maybe a little present today means you help me in the mountains. I don't know.
Well, that's what Floyd said. He said they would maybe give up the yellow jersey if it led to some liaison, and maybe that's the liaison.
Absolutely. And it could be two teams racing against the rest.
So maybe it will be smart, but as of yesterday, it was not a show of strength. That's going to be our debate of the day, brought to you by Patron. There is no debating the perfection of Patron. Now, let's talk about our Saab performance predictions. I think it's 2 straight days where nobody's gotten points.
Well, we're not experts anymore.
No, it's a very unpredictable tour, so therefore difficult to predict.
Yeah, it's sort of like the dark bullseye kind of thing. Very good. Let's take a look at the standings. And with no points, I think the string is going to be intact. Saab performance predictions, born from Jets. It is the 14th day in yellow. Incredible, unsurpassable, OLN record. Bob Roll tied with me for 14 points, but I had it first. Phil Liggett's got 12. And we want to make the presentation official almost now. The Lantern Rouge,
beautiful.
It is lit.
Fabulous.
You think it's easy finding a red lantern here? You're crazy.
Do you know what? I'm going to cherish this, because from last year's winner to this year's last place overall, I think that's going to sit very proudly on my son's sideboard.
The first one you've got. Didn't you finish second?
You cannot hold it. It's still mine. Let's make our picks. Bob, you go first. Who do you pick?
I'm going to start first. I'm going to pick Rick Verbrugge from Belgium. He had a good stage in the Giro d'Italia that he won, very similar to this stage. He's been looking for the breakaway. He needs something to salvage his career. He's been on the skids for a while. He's won stages before. I think Rick Verbrugge is going to find the breakaway today and get some points for your ever-loving Blobstack.
I picked second, and I picked the name that is the best by far in the race. It's Marco Velo. I mean, Velo,
Just
bicycle. It couldn't be any better.
Good logic.
And then I realized he's on Milram. No, I can't pick him. So I'm going with what I think is a smart pick, and that would be Damiano Cunego, who has shown effort, he's shown ability, he's won the Giro, and maybe he's got one little Tour de France trick.
I was going to go for him.
Were you?
I was absolutely...
Too bad.
A shame. But anyway, I think I'll go third today.
Yes, you do.
So I've been really sort of trying to work it out all week, really, and not been very successful at all. So this week and today, I'm going to go for Oscar Freire. He's a little bit angry at the moment. His wife's expecting a child, so I think Oscar Freire is going to go out there and try and get himself a victory if he can. After all, the logic behind it is there'll be 50 or 60 riders come over that last second category climb together, and he's the fastest man.
Angry because his wife's expecting. That's another debate of the day. Phil, you're last.
I think I'll go for Robin McEwen. Just joking, Bob. I think I'll go for a rider, because we're all going mad today to try and find somebody to come out of that pack and get the win that'll mean victory in this race in Paris. And the 4 points I think will come from Heimar Zubeldia today. He's riding like
he's
rubbish,
lost it.
But today he might ride well.
Bob,
I'm just hoping he does it.
I think he's lost it.
You won't be laughing by the end of the day.
Bob and I are hoping. Anyway, we've got a day off tomorrow. The riders do too. And then we're going to one of the legendary places in cycling, Alpe d'Huez. Bob Roll takes us up Alpe d'Huez in his own words.
No other single climb in all of cycling has so dramatically enthralled the masses and captured the imagination of the most road-weary bike fans than Alpe d'Huez. From 1952, when the mythic Italian Fausto Coppi won atop its majestic 21 switchbacks for the first time, right up to the present day and Lance Armstrong's win in the mountain's first ever time trial, Alpe d'Huez has become synonymous with the word legend. The climb itself is not the most difficult in all of cycling. Perhaps it is the delirium of the spectators, perched precariously from every nook and crab, foaming ferociously from the first man flying up the mountain toward glory to the dead last meathead, just barely turning his pedals, asphyxiated, overheated, and fighting for his very life. Or maybe it is the athletes who know that with every ascending pedal stroke, they can climb straight into the hearts and minds of every fan, both at home and on the road. Win here and you are forever revered as a cycling god. This year, for the 25th time, we will ascend the road to nowhere. And once more, the Tour's greatest will seek to make the exceptional effort required to make them part of cycling lore. And once more, for the throngs, cycling pandemonium awaits. Alpe d'Huez beckons.
The last place meathead. You're amazing. It can't just be the granite. It can't just be the 21 turns. There's got to be something about Alpe d'Huez that makes it so special. What is it?
It's become the road to nowhere. I mean, I wasn't there in 1952 when Fausto Coppi won, but I have been there ever since, and it's gone there many times now. And we watched the fans change with the nationality of the country that dominates the climbs. We've had the Dutch, we've had the Spanish, we've had the Americans, and the Hampson won there, of course. It's been a fantastic climb, Al, and it's a place to go.
Paul, what stands out in your mind about it?
Well, I think both Bob and I, it's a special place. It's somewhere, if you're not a climber, you hate, because it is just a horrendous climb. When you come around that first corner out of Bourg d'Oisans and you see that wall straight in front of you, you say, what am I doing in the Tour? But since then, what it's brought to me is some incredible battles, some great stories, some great legends. And that's why I think for everybody it has a real place in Tour de France history.
All right, Paul and Phil will take the Lanterne Rouge to the booth at the finish line. It's stage 14, about as unpredictable as this Tour gets. What does Pereiro do with the yellow jersey? What happens to Phonak today? Does some team see the glory of a stage win? We'll all find out as stage 14 of the 2006 Tour de France begins after this.
The 2006 Tour de France pre-race on OLN is presented by Saab. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets.
Your life doesn't have one dimension. Neither should your beer. Michelob Ultra. Rewarding taste that's made for the way you play. Live life to the ultra.
I live strong for my little brother.
I live strong for my mom.
For my wife.
For my teacher.
For my grandma.
I live strong for Pops.
For strength.
For my family.
I live strong for my hero.
For my best friend.
I live strong
for my grandbabies.
I live strong for myself.
Join AMD and HP in support of the Lance Armstrong Foundation. Every purchase of the HP Special Edition L2000 Notebook PC sends $150 to help people affected by cancer. Exclusively at CompUSA. Learn more at livestrongpc.com.
Honey, I'm going shopping. 20% off.
All right.
The Home Depot.
Should we take the truck?
The Cordaid Challenge? Find a complete solution for poison ivy. New two-step Cordaid Poison Ivy Care. A scrub clinically proven to remove the toxin. And a spray to prevent the itch. It's science applied to your skin.
Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop. Bicycle Village has Colorado's largest selection of bikes, from tandems to trikes to top-end bikes. All the best brands and the largest selection. Over 1,000 bikes set up and ready to ride from the brands you want, like Trek, Specialized, Raleigh, Lightspeed, and more. Only Bicycle Village offers same-day bike service to get you back on your bike quicker. Plus lifetime tunes and an unbeatable performance guarantee on every bike we sell. And we always guarantee the lowest prices. Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop.
Help your car, truck, motorcycle, just about any internal combustion engine vehicle save gas and last longer with Z-Max. Z-Max goes to work to reduce heat and friction, dissipate harmful carbon buildup, restore power, reduce fuel consumption, and help your car to run better, longer. Guaranteed to improve your mileage or your money back.
Log on to ZMAX.com to find the ZMAX retail performance partner near you. ZMAX, performance you can feel.
Yesterday, in an unexpected chain of events, the yellow jersey changed hands for a 7th time in this year's Tour de France. When an early breakaway group managed to get away from the peloton, Floyd Landis and his team Phonak chose not to chase. The result, the Spanish rider Oscar Pereiro now holds the yellow jersey for the first time in his career. Today, phase 2 of the Tour comes to an end as the peloton makes its way to Gap for one more stage before a day of rest. With 2 mountains to climb, it could be anyone's day again in this year's unpredictable Tour de France. Stage 14 rolls on, next on OLN. Yes, and there they are, the Alpine climbs. We've taken 2 weeks to find them. They will be the big talking point now as the race turns up towards Paris for the finish a week today. The Alps are ready. These bikes were probably used in the 1903 Tour de France, the foundation year of this great event. There's the finish right down in Gap. We're inside the little boxes. Welcome inside, and welcome too to OLN and its live coverage of the Tour de France. I'm Phil Liggett, joined of course by Paul Sherwen. Paul, this has been the most unpredictable Tour. Yesterday, Floyd Landis, looking safe in yellow, gave the jersey away.
It was a tactical decision on the road yesterday to relinquish that lead to somebody else. But I'm not sure whether I agree with doing that, because it might send out the wrong signals to everybody else in this race that maybe there is a weakness with the team, maybe there's weakness with Floyd Landis, but he, Phil, is the only man who can prove us right or wrong by winning this race next Sunday.
That's absolutely right. Well, Floyd Landis yesterday lost the lead. Today there could be more changes because there are 2 second category mountains along the way, one coming just before the finish. Let's have a look then at who the contenders are now. All change. On the top is Oscar Pereiro. Everybody else drops down 1 place. Time is important. Floyd Landis a minute 29 behind now. Menchoff 2.5 minutes. Cadel Evans at 2:46. Looking further down there, Leipheimer back in the action again, but still looking for 7 minutes and 8 seconds. So he still needs to hunt. Now, this has been a remarkable Tour. The lead changing not on a daily basis, but not far off. We've now had 7 different leaders of the Tour de France. I think we can show you now just what that means, because you don't normally see so many changes.
It really has been incredible this year. It's been a long time to go back to see so many changes. Hushoff was the first man to lead. Then it was Hincapie. Hushoff took it back. Then it was Tom Bonen of Belgium, who held it for a few days. He relinquished it in the time trial to Sergei Gonchar. Then Cyril Dessel, the Frenchman, had it for a single day. Then we thought that was it. Floyd Landis took over the overall lead. And then yesterday, Oscar Pereiro caused a great big surprise. We're approaching the record number of 8. That was in 1928, 1958 and 1987. If the race changes today, that'll equal the record.
Indeed, could well be 2006. 160 riders rolling out, and look at this, a friendly chat with the ex-man in yellow on the left, Floyd Landis, and last year his teammate Oscar Pereira, who saw the jersey pass to him. Robin McEwen consolidated his lead in the green jersey yesterday. As we rolled away, we got onto the Côte de Bois de Sal after 14 kilometres. Small breakaway, Michael Bogart, the champion of the Netherlands, going over first from Eddie Mazzolini, and Jose Rujano, who could be a man in the Alps in the days ahead. First sprint, slight change in the leaderboard here. Mario Ertz heading over, Pierrick Fedrigo and Igor Martinez. The peloton just 30 seconds back. Eddie Merckx dozing off a little bit there, but he wakes up when he sees our camera, and he's the man, of course, who won the Tour 5 times. Still for everybody, the legend of the world of cycling. On to the second climb of the day, and the breakaway was trying to consolidate. Salvatore Camesso, he can't climb, yet he goes over the top in first, followed by Mario Ertz and Matthias Kessler. The breakaway then, it's thinned out a bit since then, but 2 more have joined up, Paul, but we've now got 6 riders in the lead, and that's the way it is today as we head towards the finish in Gap.
Not surprising to see on the front end of the main field now that we go down to live pictures. It's the black and red jerseys of Case d'Epargne, Lille Baleares, the team of the new overall leader, Oscar Pereiro, doing honor to the yellow jersey and keeping themselves right at the front end of the pack. The leading group of riders will hope that their freedom is going to be honored this afternoon and hope that they will have a good chance of getting the victory. Salvatore Commesso, probably the fastest man in that leading breakaway. But Rick Verbrugge and Mario Ertz, although on separate teams, Belgians have both been on the same team together before in the past.
That's right. And, well, Rick Verbrugge has been fancy today to win the stage, and true to form, there he is on the far side. He had to come up to this group. They were already gone from the peloton, and a minute and a half clear before Rick Verbrugge and David Cañada, he's the guy in the yellow strip of Sonia Duval. They've come up and really strengthened this breakaway. There's Cañada there. Not so good news for his team captain, though, Gilberto Simoni, Paul. The last time we had a computer readout, he was 7 minutes behind the peloton.
Yeah, Gilberto Simoni, two-time winner of the Giro d'Italia, definitely not enjoying his Tour de France this afternoon. Probably something to do with the fact that it's rather a warm day once again on the roads of the Provence as we move into the Alpine region. 93 degrees Fahrenheit at the start of the day. The heated road reflected temperature 111 degrees Fahrenheit. But at the finish line, I think it's just a little bit hotter than that.
Well, with just under 100 kilometers left to race, they've now managed to push this race out to 4 minutes and 10 seconds. Now, should I tell, I wonder, Floyd Landis, that Pierrick Fedrigo of Bouygues Telecom started the day 26 minutes and 12 seconds behind in 42nd place. Yesterday, Oscar Pereiro started 28 minutes and 50 seconds behind, won the day and got the yellow jersey. Well, not just first across the line, but he got the yellow jersey, and big news for him. Fedrigo then, the man to watch probably today. And as we look down now at the peloton, this, I think, is the most majestically beautiful part of France here. We are coursing through the mountains, narrow roads, very sinuous, all day until we appear in Gap, and it's very, very hot. But it is such a pretty road. They'll follow this road in and out the mountains all day today.
Well, we go through a number of different French departments this afternoon. The Drôme is the first department we are going through. But once we go over the big second category climb, the Col de Perti, we will drop into the Haute Alpe for the first time. Then a little incursion into the Alpe de Haute-Provence, and then finished in the Haute Alpe, which is where the town of Gap is situated. Again, Phil, these kind of roads are very difficult racing roads. There's again going to be some tired bodies tonight. Looking forward to tomorrow's rest day.
You bet. Well, there's Oscar Pereiro, the new leader. I bet he never remotely dreamt he was going to be the race leader today, and neither did his team think they would have to all appear at the front here and look after him during the ride today either. Well, we've got the second category climb of the Col de Perti coming up. That'll take us into the last 83 kilometers of the day. It'll test the legs of the leaders up front and just how strong are the men in the group. There they are. They're awesome, aren't they? These are the Alps. We'll see you in a moment for live coverage of the Tour de France.
2006 Tour de France on OLN is brought to you by Star Motorcycles. We build it, you make it your own. And by your Trek dealer, your local Tour Mania headquarters. Come in daily to catch Tour Mania and get huge savings on bikes and accessories. And by LLB, official outfitter of OLN.
When we set out to build an entirely new type of motorcycle, we looked everywhere for inspiration. Except to convention. The 113 cubic inch fuel-injected Star Roadliner. We build it, you make it your own. Test drive one today at participating Yamaha dealers. Now get a 5-year warranty plus low 5.9% financing on any Roadliner or Stratoliner.
Ooh, I need a fix. Come on, man, I'm corrupt.
Bob. Just one game card a day.
Play the Tour Mania Scratch and Win sweepstakes at your local Trek dealer for a chance to win one of thousands of sick prizes, including a ride with Lance, and get a healthy dose of savings on bikes and accessories. Play every day at TrekBikes.com.
Nope. No.
Blue skies are the norm in the mountains when summer comes, and I'm on the trails every chance I get. Maybe more important than the weather is the gear I use to maximize my experience. I choose LL Bean gear. These can be long days. Over 90 years of boot making experience goes into LL Bean's Cresta hiking boots. Boots so comfortable, I know I'll wear out long before my feet do. Mountain weather can change without warning, and when it does, I'm ready with my Mountain Storm system. I can put on the rugged jacket for protection against the wind and rain, just a soft shell if the weather's cool, or both for a warm, dry jacket in the worst weather. For a full day of hiking, I load up my award-winning Bigelow pack, and I know I can cover a lot of terrain in total comfort and with everything I need within easy reach. Products designed for durability and performance, sold directly to the consumer at a great price. Check out llbean.com or call 800-441-4913 to get a free catalog or ask an expert about any of LL Bean's gear.
LL Bean is the official outfitter of OLN's Tour de France broadcast team.
Floyd Landis is cycling's tough guy. So tough his hip needs to be replaced, but he'll still ride on to keep the yellow jersey in America. The Cyclism Tour de France continues Tuesday at 7 a.m. live, only on OLN.
Lance Armstrong is not a cyclist. He is a leader. He uses all that he has accomplished to lead an army of cancer survivors and to give hope to everyone fighting the disease everywhere. What do you hope to accomplish? Your goals are our goals. American Century Investments. Invest in what matters.
Welcome back to the cauldron, which we call the Tour de France here, based in the Alps now. These are the current standings in the King of the Mountains, and the real king will come in the next few days. De La Fuente has led for the last few since he took control in the Pyrenees, 18 points ahead of Dessel and Fabien Weckmann. But watch out for Michael Rasmussen. He's the defending champion. He's getting better every day. I think of all the people in this race, he is looking forward to the high mountains next week. Well, this week rather now, as we talk about here on Sunday. 4 minutes 50, the latest gap here. This is Igor Martinez, still wearing the bandages of a crash over a week ago now, just keeping the dirt away from it in case he tumbles again. He was in the lead in breakaway. He's been dropped and come back into the field as we now start the second category climb of the Col de Perti. Just over 5 miles, the climb itself, and in this heat, it's going to feel pretty tough, I think. It's only going to serve as an hors d'oeuvre to what's to come after the rest day tomorrow, that's for sure. Nice round 5 minutes is the gap now to the yellow jersey of Oscar Pereiro. And this is where we are, just before the second category climb. 92 kilometers to go. The leaders are on the climb of the Col de Perti. So this is the first test of the day, Paul. It's been generally uphill and rolling all day, but we're now heading up into the second category climb. The rest have been thirds and fourth. And we've seen the abandon of Mirko Celestino from Team Milram. Little bit of a surprise. He was, I thought, going quite well, but he's the second rider in that team to go.
Well, 176 riders starting the tour, 159 are now left, and there are only 6 out of 20 teams left intact. And I wouldn't be surprised to see another abandon being announced. In fact, it may well have already happened, but we may not have seen it, because Gilberto Simoni, the 2-time winner of the Giro d'Italia, Phil, in fact, was announced at 7 minutes in arrears of the main field, and that could indicate to me that he might have sneaked off in the feeding zone.
Well, that's where one would expect. That's where all the team cars are parked, of course, ready to feed their riders. And he was 7 minutes behind a long time before that. And so he could well be behind. Now, up front there, the best placed rider in the breakaway is Pierrick Fedrigo, 42nd overall, 26.12 behind. He's the only one who would get the yellow jersey, of course, if they gained more than 26 minutes. That's very unlikely today. You don't pull the same trick twice and get away with it, do you?
Well, they normally would say that lightning doesn't strike in the same place on 2 occasions, but it has been known to happen. But I don't think it will today. I think the main field, they had what they wanted yesterday, a fairly easy ride on their way up to Montélimar. Now they will start to take this just a little bit more seriously. And if this break does get large proportions, I think it will probably hover and platform out at around about 15 minutes.
Well, Matthias Kessler is in that breakaway. He's tasted victory. He's also known the not-so-sweet taste of defeat, caught in sight of the line the day before he finally won on the Coburg. And he's in that breakaway and looking as though he's willing to set the pace today.
Well, interestingly enough, just talking to Bernard Hinault this morning, although the majority of the French press were very much against Floyd Landis relinquishing the jersey, Bernard Hinault said immediately, well, I understand what he's doing. And I understand completely, because as far as he's concerned, he wants to win the Tour de France on the final day. But what might be dangerous is allowing breakaways to replace riders closer to him in the overall classification, because who knows how the yellow jersey is going to transform Oscar Pereiro. I know he lost 26 minutes, but that was on 1 day in the Pyrenees. He's a good man who can climb, and he may well now start to get inspiration from that yellow tunic.
Right, he lost his half an hour in the Pyrenees, remember, but you know, after he pulled on the jersey last night, he said to one journalist, I can win the Tour. And now, he might have been a little punch drunk and he might have been a little over enthusiastic, but it does change your personality. You try that much harder. So you may find he's harder to dislodge. We might see some indicators today because of the 2 second category climbs. This is the first one, and this breakaway now has a 5-minute advantage.
Yes, this is the first one, and it comes pretty much halfway through the stage this afternoon. 83 kilometers left to go, 97 kilometers covered at the top of the climb. I don't think we'll get an indication from the riders like Landis, Pereiro, Cadel Evans, Andreas Kloden on a stage like today, because they will hide their game, I think, this afternoon. They'll wait to try and go through the rest day, and then they will have to come out and fight on the slopes of the Alpe d'Huez. And just to finish off what Bernard Hinault was saying, Phil, he said Landis has to come down and put the fist on this race to prove now that he is the best, so that none of these other guys actually have any idea left.
Well, this is an area where I would come cycling if it wasn't Tour de France time in July. These roads are superbly quiet. So there's a myriad of these narrow roads in this region here. This is actually one of the busiest, one of the main roads from Montélimar to Gap, but of course motorists wouldn't think of using it. It's the shortest way through the mountains, but cyclists would. And they just twist, they duck and dive. I don't think you ever get a 200 yards straight on these roads, the way they follow the contours of the mountains. The crowd have found their way here, though, and there'll be cheers all of the way. The villages, which nestle in these mountains, are simply idyllic. And just the odd pizzeria, and before you know it, you're back in the countryside again.
It's very much an agricultural part of France. In fact, 90% of France's lime comes from this area, as well as olive trees and olive oil, not to mention the lavender we've seen an awful lot of since the start. And there's a beautiful example just behind the riders.
Isn't that lovely? Yeah. There's the long line, heading towards yet another lavender field there, as the fields stay together. Certainly not for warmth, but not really too interested at the moment in that breakaway of 6 riders. But that was also the case yesterday, and we all know what happened then. Rick Verbrugge has joined with David Cañada, 6 men up front. We'll take another short break. Rejoin us.
If you missed any of OLN's new hit series, consider this your lucky break. It's the IPT King of the Hill 8-Ball Shootout Marathon, with all 6 episodes rack to rack. Watch as the world's greatest shooters battle it out for the richest purse in the history of the sport. But if they want to survive to the final round, they'd better bring their 8 game. The IPT King of the Hill 8-Ball Shootout Marathon, Tuesday, July 25th at 6 Eastern, only on OLN.
The German word for safe is sicher. The Portuguese word for firewall is muro de fogo. The Chinese word for password is mima. My company's in 17 countries now, and I can say secure in every one of them.
Dynamic networking from AT&T identifies security threats before they're problems, so Jane's confidence grows right alongside her company. The new AT&T, your world delivered.
He's now wearing
With the MLB Extra Innings package, no matter where your team is, every game's a home game. You can watch your team's games or scout the competition. Tune in to the free preview of MLB Extra Innings July 13th through the 17th. MLB Extra Innings package. No matter where your team is, every game's a home game. You can watch your team's games or scout the competition. MLB Extra Innings. Baseball shouldn't be a long-distance relationship. Call 1-888-COMCAST today.
Welcome back to the heat of the Tour de France again today. We're on the road to Gap and the foot of the Alps, and the riders here now, not under the escort of Phonak, but the black jerseys of the Case d'Apan squad from Spain, because yesterday the lead changed hands and is now on the shoulders of Oscar Pereiro, a Spanish rider who, by the way, speaks excellent English. Just over 2 hours of racing today. It's not so long, it's not as long as we've been racing the last 3 days. The riders at least will be pleased about that. 180 kilometers, about 112 miles. They're speeding towards their second rest day, which will be in Gap before they start the race to the top of Alpe d'Huez. Oh boy, that'll be in 2 days' time though. This is life at the back of the peloton just at the moment, and this is Juan Antonio Fletcher. Had a quiet tour in many ways. I thought he might have gone for a win in one or two of these what we call transient stages, although this one's a little hilly for that. But I don't think he's had the same form as the past few years.
Well, he was in pretty good form on the big Pyrenean stage when he was in that leading group of 4 riders, but that was not his kind of terrain. I thought these stages here between the mountains would have been the stages that he would have knocked off in his race Bible as the ones to try and go for. But the team also is changing its tactics, because they now are starting to believe that they can win the Tour de France with Denis Menchov. Of course, they've also got to think about individual victories for Oscar Freire, who has won 2 stages. But a little bit, I think, in conflict with the team, because there seems to be some lack of support for Oscar Freire when it comes down to the sprint. So he actually, the other day, as a protest to the team management, didn't sprint on the ride into Montélimar.
Well, that's quite interesting. And Oscar Freire, as far as we know, his wife hasn't given birth yet. He's still expecting to get the news today in the race. As we look at the 6 leaders here, they came together, and now they are making a nice time over the field, quite regular. Even on the climb here, they've added another 30 seconds, up to 5.5 minutes lead now. There'll be no desperate chase. We could be looking at the winning break today here, and that might decide the sprint, but it won't decide the destiny of the yellow jersey. The best place of these riders, 26 minutes behind. There's no way that Peloton will make the same mistake twice.
No, but in theory, the man who took the yellow jersey yesterday, Oscar Pereiro, should ride into the rest day as the overall leader. Confirmation has come through. The Magnus Backstedt did abandon, and that is rather sad, as you said earlier, Phil, because Magnus Backstedt is a great character, but the one thing Maggie does not like is the big mountains, and I think that might have been a little bit of a fear for him looking up towards the skies, because he can see now that the Alps are beginning to loom on the horizon, and 3 very difficult days in the Alps after the rest day.
Well, he's ridden 6 Tours de France. He's seen Paris on only 1 occasion, when he finished 123rd in the year 2000. So Magnus Backstedt, I'm sorry to say, because he lives in South Wales, isn't going to see Paris again this time around. He still remains the first Swedish winner of a stage of the Tour, though. He won that in 1998 in the town of Autun.
This is quite interesting, because one of the riders from Quick-Step was moving to the front to lift the tempo up a fraction. That was Cedric Vasseur. I wonder if Tom Boonen believes he can get himself over the final second category climb of the day. It's a very difficult second category climb, and it comes at around about 9 kilometers into Gap. It's the Col de la Sentinel. It's 5 kilometers long at around about 5% in gradient. But maybe they too now have decided to take a little bit of responsibility at the front end of the main field.
Well, as we make steady progress up the mountain, the last time we came up this mountain, I'm surprised it's taken so long to find it again, was back in 1972. And it was a great little climber from Belgium. There aren't many come from Belgium. Lucien van Impe, who was first over the top.
Van Impe, winner of the Tour de France in 1976. And I suppose it's interesting to bring in to the conversation at this point that when he had the yellow jersey, he actually got rid of it for a couple of days before finally taking it back.
Poignant remark there, Paul. And Van Impe only got to win the Tour once, but he did win the King of the Mountains, a record equaling 6 times. He joined Federico Bahamontes with 6 wins. The record since passed on now to Richard Virenque.
Yeah, Richard Virenque made it a tactic of building a massive lead in the King of the Mountains competition by breaking away on long mountain stages and getting a lead that was almost unassailable. And that's maybe what we'll see when we go into the Alps from Michael Rasmussen, who's looked very good over the last couple of stages. The yellow jersey looks very comfortable there, Phil. I bet he really thought that the jackpot had come home last night when he saw it must have been an interminable wait for him sitting at the side of the finishing line, watching the clock, knowing that he had to wait for 28 minutes and 38 seconds. And that's an awful long time to sit and wait for the main field to come in.
It is, but I think when he saw them go into the 10 kilometres, like us, he'd worked out they couldn't possibly get to the finish in his time. That must have been a lovely feeling, just waiting for confirmation. These riders, don't forget, have pedalled now over 2,500 kilometres. That's over 1,500 miles since we started in 2 weeks. They're remarkable people, whichever way you think about the sport of cycling. These guys are having to do this every day, up to 6 hours a day. So they're entitled to take a day off and let somebody else win the stages sometimes. This is the twist and turns of what is quite a long climb, this, the Col de Perti. They're keeping it steady and sensible, while the breakaway is riding a little bit harder. They've added 38 seconds from the bottom so far. They're running into the last 50 miles or 80 kilometres to race. I don't think they'll get caught. There will be a chase, I feel, today. Paul Sherwen might be right that the Quick-Step team have said, look, keep those guys close and we'll try and chase them down towards the finish. But there is the Col de Sentinel just before the end.
Yeah, the only way that they would decide to chase is if the team management have actually driven to the race finish early for Team Quick-Step and had a look at what that Col de la Sentinel is like. And if they feel that Tom Boner can get over that in a large group of 50 or 60 riders, then they'll put some riders on the front to chase. Otherwise, it's going to be really the teams of the overall contenders who will have to do the most of the pacemaking here this afternoon. None of these riders really very dangerous at all. Even David Cañada at the back here, he was 70th overall at the start of the day, and he was more than 40 minutes back.
He's sitting just off the back of the break there, but he's not under pressure. He's just waiting for his team car to come up. There it is. It's arrived. Might even want to know what's happened to Gilberto Simoni. We certainly do, because when he was reported early on to be 7 minutes behind the peloton, there's no way he could have got back into the peloton. So we're wondering what has happened. Remember, every day there's an elimination time based on the winner of the day's time, and then it is a percentage. Man doing a lot of work at the moment is Kessler. There he is again. 30% according to the computer is his effort compared to the 6% of Rick Verbrugge.
And all I can say in Flemish there is pas op van de manneke, because he's not doing very much work at all, obviously holding back. He realizes that if this breakaway does succeed and does stay off the front end of the main field, Phil, he's going to try and hold something in reserve to try and fly the coupe on the run in towards the finish. And Verbrugge is a very good individual time trialist. Let's not forget, he owns the record for the fastest ever prologue time trial ever carried out in the world, and that was in the Giro d'Italia a couple of years ago, and that was 57 kilometers an hour.
Incredible. Yes, this is him here, number 138, and it looks as though they're sharing a drink amongst themselves now. They're allies for the moment, just racing against the common enemy of the day, and that's behind by 5:27 right now. All friends until it comes down to deciding who's going to win the day. Then it's every man for himself. Well, Kessler is looking very, very strong today, and having seen Andries Kloden falter a little bit in the Pyrenees, maybe he is on today in search for another stage win. He's had one in Holland. Hi Eddie, the great Eddie Merckx on the race today. That should inspire every cyclist in the Tour de France. We'll take a break.
The aerodynamic principles that keep a Saab jet in the air help the Saab 9.5 remain firmly on the ground. Introducing the new 260 horsepower Saab 9.5. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Take flight in the newly redesigned 9.5 sedan for under $35,000.
Your engine knows what it wants. Pennzoil Platinum. Relearn what you know about synthetic at pennzoilplatinum.com.
Every night, OLN brings you the Tour enhanced. See today's stage with commentary by Alan Bob, extra features and analysis, and more. The Tour de France Enhanced Prime, tonight at 8 p.m. Brought to you by LL Bean. OLN Survivor Wednesdays returns with an earth-shaking season. Brace yourself for Survivor Vanuatu Islands of Fire. The gender war is about to explode. Survivor Wednesdays Vanuatu begins July 26th at 7 p.m. on OLN.
Where would you go for a delicious panini hot off the grill? How about your microwave? Try a Corner Bistro panini from Stouffer's. Cooked on our revolutionary grilling tray, they're the only panini that actually grill to perfection in your microwave. For a crispy, restaurant-inspired panini at home, try our full menu of Corner Bistro panini. And see what's cooking at Stouffer's.
This week on Wild Over, me and Gorp are down south for an invigorating winter break. With temperatures as high as -30, it's important to keep yourself cool. Antarctica, the biggest party island of them all.
Brought to you by new Smirnoff Ice. New invigorating taste.
Premium malt beverage, please drink responsibly.
Welcome back. We're on the Col de Perti. It's a rather long climb, this. In fact, there it is for you. The zigzags. It's like a miniature Alpe d'Huez today, isn't it? These are only the foothills. These aren't hills at all as we approach the Alps today in reality. We're heading towards Gap now. It's stage 14 of the Tour de France. Yesterday, we saw the yellow jersey pass over from Floyd Landis, the Americans, to a man that Floyd Landis believes cannot win the Tour. And we'll find out in the Alps if Floyd has made a mistake or not. But he wanted to get rid of the pressure felt by being in the hot seat of the Tour de France. Now he can come from behind when we get into the battlegrounds of the High Alps the day after tomorrow's rest day. Then we'll see if Floyd can do what he did to Oscar Pereiro in the Pyrenees, and that's put a half an hour into him. I think he probably can, but we'll know. Here we are, 1 kilometer to go. Rick Verbrugge, the rider who's second from camera here. I thought he was in trouble, but Salvatore Camesso has been setting the pace, has taken the ticket collector's seat at the moment. So Camesso has dropped back. There's a support for Hugo Bert. I don't know who he is, but I think he must be somebody on television. He's certainly not in the Tour de France.
No, this is Camesso sitting in the back. Verbrugge seems to have recovered, but just look at these roads here. This part of France we're going through, these are agricultural roads. These are basically used, as far as I know, just to serve riders and serve farmers getting up to the mountains at the top where they come to pick the limes, which this area is very much renowned for. But the road surface is horrendous. It's a very rough road surface. Again, it's that kind of surface where we find ourselves being stuck to the road. And it's if this is the sort of area, if we cast our minds back to where Yoshiba Bolocki had that very dramatic accident when he was trying to follow Lance Armstrong down the road into Gap.
In 2003, and Alexander Vinokourov won the stage. Vinokourov didn't get to start this year because too many members of his team were linked to that Operation Puerto. Not him, I hasten to add, but because he never had the qualifying numbers to start, he had to go home. So he was out. How life changes in just 3 years. Just looking down there now, that's the peloton under the guidance today of Cees Dapan. We actually drove this course at 11 o'clock last night. That's the dedication of the commentator for you. In fact, we were looking for our hotel, but it was a beautiful drive, even though it was dark at that time of night.
Well, This is just at the back end of the group. Julian Dean, the Kiwi rider, having a little bit of a hard time with the heat. And you see, once a rider looks as if he's going to get dropped, what the race referees do is they open up a gap in the convoy of team cars, and that makes it a lot more difficult for a rider to reintegrate. Dean has ridden well so far. He's been a big pilot fish for Thor Hushovd in the early sprints, and the team manager up here alongside. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him get the professional bottle.
Well, you know, Paul means by that you take a bottle, but you forget to take your hand off it, and you get a little bit of a lift by the following car. The judges are up to that one, but they just keep an eye on it occasionally. But I have to say, this is Thomas Volkler also dropping away here just now.
Yeah.
That's pretty typical of Thomas when he doesn't like racing too near the front.
Well, I think he was actually going back to the team car there, just looking over his shoulder. Theoretically, you're not allowed to take a bottle until you go over the summit of the climb, and these riders are just about to reach that. It looks like David Cañada wants to get himself maximum points.
Well, no sprint, no interest in the King of the Mountains again. Long-term thinking for this breakaway. They want to share the spoils on the day. Verbrugge, you see, unhitched again there at the back, and funnily enough, so too was Kessler. He'll come back on the descent, but I think he was taking it pretty hard on that climb. So on the last climb of the day, which is the second category called the Sentinel, he may find he's in the spot of bother.
Well, he's got a little bit of a turn now to try and recuperate. We go away from the summit of this climb, drop down into the valley, and then probably fill for about 60 kilometers. It's a lot flatter rolling lands, and that'll give Rick Verbrugge a chance to recuperate. Don't forget, Rick Verbrugge is a class act. He won himself a race this year in the stage of the Giro on the road into Saltara. But Cañada did get maximum points ahead of Ertz and Federico. Comessa over the line there in fourth, but as you said, they didn't really fight it out there.
Now, as they went over the top, Cañada, Ertz, Federico, Commesso, they're all going to regroup. These are very difficult, and what's going on here, very difficult and dangerous descents, what I was about to say, but I've no idea why the race has suddenly come to a halt. The roads are narrow, and those cars really shouldn't be there, but it looks as though we're all going again.
I think it was just a question of the road narrowing very quickly and everybody looking for the brakes. Sebastian Ino was one of the riders who may have had a mechanical incident over on the right-hand side, but that's why it's always an advantage on roads like this to be in the front and to be in the breakaway. Verbrugge sitting at the back there, allowing Kessler to make the majority of the pace to bring him back into the lead.
Just listening to all the race radio there, and they've not shown any signs of panic, so it was a pretty routine stop. I think it probably was a rider pulled over, caused everybody else to come to a complete standstill there. So as the riders are starting the way down now, these descents in this region are extremely twisty, very narrow, very dangerous. While they descend, we'll take part in the Saab Watch and Win sweepstakes, a chance to win a Saab 97X or a Cervelo bike. Fly to the finish, dial up on olntv.com. The word today is domestique. And so the riders are all coming back together. I think we expected that, but we may have a couple of passengers here, Kessler and Verbrugge, as this day winds on. They walk around the corner quite so fast, but they're not doing too bad. We'll take another break.
Serves up the return of Pete Sampras in the network premiere of World Team Tennis. Sampras and the Breakers take on the five-time champion Sacramento Capitals. World Team Tennis, today at 11:30, only on OLN.
Honey, I'm going shopping. 20% off.
All right.
The Home Depot.
Should we take the truck?
Together, we can make a difference. That's why American Century Investments created Livestrong portfolios. Mutual funds designed to support your goals and also help us support the Lance Armstrong Foundation's fight against cancer, because we believe that when you do something good, it can come full circle.
Contact your financial advisor or American Century Investments for a prospectus that contains investment objectives, risks, charges and expenses, and other information that should be carefully read and considered before investing.
The Cordaid Challenge? Find a complete solution for poison ivy. New two-step Cordaid Poison Ivy Care. A scrub clinically proven to remove the toxin, and a spray to prevent the itch. It's science applied to your skin.
John, we have the new high speed. It's way faster than DSL. Show 'em. It's a pagoda.
Tell me you have more.
Hi, it's me, Mike Rowe, host of Discovery Channel's Dirty Jobs with the good news. Shark Week is back.
And now, Comcast invites you to experience Shark Week online, on demand, and on the Discovery Channel. Plus, for a limited time, receive a special Shark Week gift, free when you subscribe to service from Comcast. And don't miss Shark Week all week, coming July 30th to the Discovery Channel.
Welcome back. We're on the descent, at least the leaders are on the way down. And this is a look at the overall standings in the race this morning. Oscar Pereiro, the new leader of the Tour after yesterday, putting Landis 129 back, who was the leader. Dessel, who was the leader on the first day in the Pyrenees, he's now third. Menchoff, who won in the Pyrenees, is fourth. And Cadel Evans, the dark horse perhaps from Australia, sits in fifth. There's the peloton. We're nearly up at the top of the Col de Perti. In fact, that might be the top as we look down from the helicopter. 5:46 is the gap. The first man over, David Cañada. Yes, it was the top, so the bunch time now at 5:46. We are also hearing that the Tour of Italy winner of days gone by, Gilberto Simoni, is still in the race, by the way. Here's the green jersey on picture. Look at his lead, 252 points there for Robbie McEwen. He scored best of the rest yesterday in the sprints, and that will keep him right up there on the leaderboard as he seeks to win for the third time that green jersey in Paris. Well, the green jersey sprinters won't be challenging over the next few days of the Tour de France because we are in the Alps. They've only got a couple of days left. This is the competition which is fragile for David de la Fuente. The big danger is third place Rasmussen. He's 61 points. He's the defending champion. And that 19 points he's behind De La Fuente can be wiped out with a good result on a single climb. So we're in for a great battle in that competition. Mercado there in fifth. 5 minutes 40. It was 5 minutes at the start of the climb. They gained 40 seconds in the breakaway. Well, let's see how the main field handle this descent. I hope our helicopter can keep the pictures here. I'm always in awe at the photographs that the camera boys bring you of the Tour de France, especially when they're live, because it is such a difficult event, the sport of cycling, to keep up with.
Well, Juan Miguel Mercado brought back into the fold there. It's Cedric Vasseur on the front, leading them down the descent. This is the best place to actually be on a descent like this, Phil, because you don't want to be using somebody else's line around the corners. You're much better off riding your own line down a descent.
Well, I must say, I wouldn't want to be the cameraman at the front of the bike either. And it looks as though we want a little bit of service here for Filippo Pazzato, the man with the flowing locks from Italy, who rides the Belgian Quick-Step team. He probably wants a drink as he tries to relax at the back of the peloton on the way down. High speed descending this now, probably around 40-45 miles an hour. A lovely picture, like a giant bicycle wheel as they make their way down towards the bends. Around the right-hand bend now. Everybody stick the right leg out and lean away from the corner and keep that bike upright. All right, well, let's have a look at our AT&T yellow jersey moment. It was, of course, yesterday. Race leader became Oscar Pereiro. He went out on the hunt for a stage win. He didn't get that. Jens Voigt did. He came home second. Instead, he did what I thought was impossible. Closed a 28-minute gap and converted that into a lead of 1:29. Oscar Pereiro is now the leader of the Tour de France today as we ride towards Gap. And that's our AT&T yellow jersey moment. We continue to snake our way down, the longest snake in the world this, as we twist and turn. We're on the descent of the Col de Perti now, which means the riders are just over 80 kilometers from the finish. Nobody's going to commit suicide down here. They're picking their own little trail because they know the day after tomorrow they're going to be in the high mountains. Every man for himself. 5 minutes 40, 6 men up front. will feel pretty confident they can take out the stage today, but I'll guarantee you there won't be a change in the overall lead, at least not amongst those 6. The picnickers on the way. As I say, we came over this road at 11 o'clock last night. It was dark, but the fires and the people in the caravans were all enjoying the wine and bread and having a little bit of a party in pockets as we came over the mountains, waiting for the big day today.
Big day today for everybody. They were expecting to see Floyd Landis ride along here with the yellow jersey, but that changed yesterday with an unbelievable breakaway that ended up crossing the line 29 minutes and 57 seconds ahead of the main field. And if you remember, Phil, we were discussing the elimination time yesterday. Well, I did check on the results last night, and the referees actually stretched the elimination time from 9% to 10%, because otherwise the main field was actually legally outside the elimination time. Now that would have been dangerous for 2 riders, 2 teammates in fact of Team Phonak, because Robbie Hunter was off the back and so too was Nicolas Jalabert. But that extension to 10%, fortunately for them, kept them inside the limit.
Robbie was probably quite pleased with that. Well, he's still in the race. Latest gap is 5 minutes 40 now, as we see these riders continue. Kessler's recovered, it seems. Where's Verbrugge? Here he is, sitting at the back having his dinner as he goes by, and there's Salvatore Comesso. This rider here would pack a real good sprint if it came down to the finish in gap today. It's a sprinter's finish. You've got to get over the hills to see it down in gap. Gap are in having a great fun time at the moment as I speak. All right, well, we love cycling on OLN. Well, make sure you note the name change, because in September there will be major changes here at OLN. The name will be changed to Versus. We'll bring you all of the events you can't see anywhere else on American television. The Tour de France, the America's Cup, Davis Cup tennis, boxing, PBR, and of course, as you already know, the weekly national coverage of the NHL. The network for athletes, for sportsmen, for fans, and anyone who's up for a good challenge. This September, OLN becomes Versus. As we continue to course between the mountains, occasionally popping over 1 or 2 today in the Alps. This is called the high alpine region, but these really are the low Alps when it comes to the ones which are en route from Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday of next week. These riders now try to have as best a rest as they can, all huddled together as they chase 6 riders, and their lead is nearly 6 minutes now as the finish gets closer. We'll take a break.
Floyd Landis is cycling's tough guy. So tough his hip needs to be replaced, but he'll still ride on to keep the yellow jersey in America. The Cyclism Tour de France continues Tuesday at 7 a.m. live, only on OLN.
OLNTV.com is on tour and right in the middle of the Tour de France. Get instant and exclusive access to clips, photos, bios, and race routes, along with stage summaries and forecasts from our team of experts. OLNTV.com, your link to the Tour de France.
One part of this concept car is already on the road. Michelin MX tires. Chosen by more luxury car makers to enhance the performance of their cars. Michelin, a better way forward.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. The turbocharged Saab 9.3 Sport Sedan with an estimated 31 miles per gallon highway. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets. Take flight in the 9.3 Sport Sedan for under $27,000.
Your life doesn't have one dimension. Neither should your beer. Michelob Ultra. Rewarding taste that's made for the way you play. Live life to the Ultra.
I want to ride. I want to ride. I want to ride. I want to ride.
I know. Let's go.
full line of fun and reliable CRFs from Honda. Everyone wants to ride. For monthly payments as low as $39, visit relief.honda.com or ask your Honda dealer about Red Hot Summer Relief.
Welcome back, stage 14, Montélimar, the Nougat capital, is behind us now by quite a long way, more than 100 kilometres in fact, as we race towards Gap. There's the cars parked down below there, where people are watching the Tour de France speed through the valley for a change now. It's about the straightest road we've seen in the last 2.5 hours of racing. This is the Peloton, 6 riders up front, 5 minutes 37 seconds the gap. Now remember, yesterday Floyd Landis, seen to be on a routine stage, all of a sudden a rider in the breakaway recovers almost half an hour of lost time, and as a result Floyd Landis lost his lead. So you can imagine what Frankie Andrea was talking about with him when he found Floyd Landis this morning.
Floyd, you've worked hard over the last couple of years, and especially in the first part of the Tour de France. You've given up the yellow bike, you've given up the yellow jersey. Can you tell us why that decision was made?
Well, I just don't think it would be wise to try to control the race for the next 8 days. I guess it's possible, but my estimation, it's better to race conservative right now and wait to see what happens in the mountains.
Many have said that you've loaned out the yellow jersey, and when do you expect to get it back?
I don't know if that's the case. If I don't get it back, then probably was going to lose it anyway. So when I get it back, I don't know. Pereiro, I'm sure, will be motivated now that he has it, and that's good. He's a friend of ours, and was happy to see him get it. So yeah, hopefully they work to defend it. I wouldn't mind if he keeps it for a while.
You mentioned Pereiro as a friend. He was on the team of yours last year. Was that part of the decision in letting him take more than 28 minutes?
No, not necessarily. I wouldn't say we would treat one person different than another in this situation. The decision was made because we'd like to have some other teams with some motivation to ride rather than just us.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Well, that's not a man disappointed, is it? It's a man thinking long term in Floyd Landis there. I think he will hope to get it back probably Tuesday or Wednesday once we get into the high mountains of the Alps. At the moment, though, these riders not endangering anybody's overall lead. A gain of just 5:35, but it could be a winning move for the day as they head towards Gap. Floyd Landis, Paul, very confident this morning, I must say, saying that it wasn't a conscious decision to move it over to Oscar Pereiro, but as it's gone there, he hopes he can get it back. But he says, if I've lost it to a man and I can't get it back, then I should have lost it anyway.
Well, very profound statement, although Eddie Merckx is also saying that as far as he's concerned, he does believe that Landis is the strongest man, and Landis will take the lead back once we go up into the Alps. But I suppose Eddie has to say that because his son Axel Merckx is Floyd's teammate.
Oh, well, that's true, but Eddie has always spoken his mind, and I don't think he would worry. He'd criticise his son if he thought his son was doing the wrong tactics, for sure. Eddie, the perfectionist. Just look at those beautiful skies today, fluffy white clouds. Just think, just over there, Paul, these fluffy white clouds are much nearer the top when it's Alpe d'Huez.
It certainly is. We start to climb up to the high spots. So far we've been over 2 third category climbs, a second category climb, and down towards the end we've got another nasty little climb, the Col de la Sentinel, which, if these riders pull back the breakaway this afternoon, I think would be a magnificent launch pad for somebody to try and go for a solo victory, because from the top of the last climb to the finish, it's 9 kilometers downhill.
And that is going to be a rip-roaring descent, because there'll be no waiting for Matthias Kessler if he's weak on the way down as we run into Gap, presuming, of course, that those riders are still clear. And there's no sign of a reversal yet, as the peloton just enjoy a very nice, pleasant meander down through the Haute-Alps department today. There's all the fans enjoying themselves. This is the group now. This is Kessler nearest the picture. And at the back there is Mario Ertz. He's been in a couple of breakaways today. Mario's probably, apart from Vyacheslav Yekimov, is probably one of the oldest riders in the race here. As we see these riders carry on then, they've got motivation enough today as they race for a win in Gap. It's time now to hear from Lanson, and this time it's Lanson beating cancer as Tour motivation.
you know, they looked at cycling and this approach that we had, this killer approach, and well, that came right on the heels of an approach that had to be killer. Look, in cancer, there's no middle ground. I mean, maybe you hang on and survive for a while, which beats the alternative, but at the end of the day, it's black or white. You either win or you don't. You either live or you die. And we took that focus and that idea and that approach to cycling. That was like, look, it's great to win, but my God, I don't want to die. I don't want to lose. And so it's the same approach I'll take now. I mean, if it's asking the president for $1 billion, if it's building an army of 2 or 3 or 10 million people that say, that's it, that's our vote, that's the way we're doing it, and we demand a change and we want a difference, there's a better way. I mean, it's very simple.
Yes, today's Lance On brought to you by American Century Investments, mutual funds and institutional money management for more than 45 years. These are the leaders of today's stage of the Tour de France now, and they don't need much more motivation than to try and take this race down to the finishing line, which is getting closer, just on 41 miles to race. Well, the gains overall, Paul, not a lot to gain today. Pierre Fedrigo, former champion of France in this breakaway, is the highest placed. He lies 42nd, 26 minutes and 12 seconds behind Oscar Pereiro, the new leader after yesterday. He's not going to get much of that back today. At the moment, a mere 5.5 minutes.
Well, last time I saw the main field, they looked very serious to me, as if they were keeping the pace nice and high. The leader's speed is currently averaging at around about 54 kilometers an hour. And the explanation for that is you've got a couple of very good time trialists in the front. The man in the yellow jersey there, David Cañada, himself has been a very good time trialist throughout his career. And of course, Rick Verbrugge also. So they're keeping the pace up to 50, 55 kilometers an hour. But if you look at the main field here this afternoon, this is not the lazy tempo of yesterday. This is returning to the tempo that we saw over the first week of the Tour. This is a lot more angry. I think people are nurturing ambitions today to try and get the stage victory, and it may well be Tom Boonen.
Well, look at this now. There's been a change of attitude here. They've waited for the Col de Perti to pass by, and then the gap between this one and the Col de la Sentinel, this is the decision. They're looking now at 60 kilometers of hard chasing to close down that race before we're on the last climb of the day. And this is Quick-Step. And you're right, Boonen has put the word out, I want them back.
Well, of all the sprinters, Tom Boonen is the one who is capable of getting over the climbs better than any of the others. Let's not forget that when he won his world title last year, Robbie McEwen was dropped. A lot of the other riders were dropped on the climb just before the finish. Boonen got over it. And that's, I think, why we might see a little different scenario here this afternoon.
Well, this could lead to an interesting couple of hours of racing now. Won't even be that now as we race towards the finish. Look at the length of that peloton. Wow, that's what you call the Tour de France now. Not when you want to be in it, of course, when you want to be a commentator, because now we're in for some action. That long, long line, the message has gone out now. We want these 6 riders back in the fold. We might get a bunch sprint yet. But don't forget that climb near the end, everybody. All right, well, let's remind ourselves, don't forget the Tour de France coverage will continue on OLN. Join us tomorrow, yes, on the rest day, because we have a special show when we recap stages 9 through 14. We're in at our regular time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and that's 9 p.m. Pacific time. Then don't forget, on Tuesday, we'll have stage 15, the ride to the top of Alpe d'Huez, and that will come to you live at 7 a.m. Eastern time. Follow the journey of the men who'll be king to July 23. Who's going to be king on Tuesday? That's one not to be missed for sure. Meanwhile, look at this now. This is Peter Weening here. We saw him sitting at the back of the race. I think he had a rear wheel change just then, so he's got to get back in the action. Good job he was hanging around, perhaps at the back of the peloton on his way up the climb of the Col de Perti. There's the big board gone up now. That's told the riders exactly what the time gap is. They should be seeing 5 minutes 29 seconds. And that means they're going to have a long, long chase here. I think that's the apricots of the region painted on the road down there, because this is a wonderful soft fruit growing region, including the black olives, which are quite famous in this part of France. The Tour de France gives you a veritable tour of an incredible country. We'll take a break and rejoin us.
This week on Wild Over, me and Gorp are down south for an invigorating winter break. with temperatures as high as -30. It's important to keep yourself cool. Antarctica, the biggest party island of them all.
Brought to you by new Smirnoff Ice. New invigorating taste.
Premium malt beverage, please drink responsibly.
Subway Dinner Theatre presents The Unfed.
I smell a blockbuster! And for dinner, Subway restaurants!
And the delicious new bourbon chicken sandwich. Tender chicken in a zesty sauce, hot and fresh from the oven on freshly baked bread.
Subway! Eat fresh!
So what do you need?
I just bought a boat. I have no idea.
Hang on.
New boat owners program. Free stuff?
Yep.
Discounts, huh?
You bet.
Advice, too?
Yeah, you'll need it.
West Marine. We've got everything a boater needs.
That's a lot of stuff.
Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop. Bicycle Village has Colorado's largest selection of bikes, from tandems to trikes to top-end bikes. All the best brands and the largest selection. Over 1,000 bikes set up and ready to ride from the brands you want, like Trek, Specialized, Raleigh, Lightspeed, and more. Only Bicycle Village offers same-day bike service to get you back on your bike quicker. Plus lifetime tunes and an unbeatable performance guarantee on every bike we sell. And we always guarantee the lowest prices. Bicycle Village, the ultimate bike shop.
At Geico.com, you can handle all your car insurance needs online. It's so easy, a caveman could do it. Seriously, we apologize. We had no idea you guys were still around.
Yeah, next time maybe do a little research.
Gentlemen, are we ready to order?
I'll have the roast duck with the mango salsa. I don't have much of an appetite, thank you.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
The Tour de France racing through some of the world's most magnificent scenery today. We are in the lower slopes of the high mountains of the Alps, racing to Gap, and this beautiful view is brought to us by Trek. And the riders way down about 1,500 feet, I would suggest, and we'll find now the 6 leaders here. They'll know by now that the race suddenly has had a change of attitude. What's that time gap? It's 5 minutes 20. It was up to 5:38. It looks as though they're starting to come back. These are the leaders, and this lovely town here. The whole population looks as though it's out watching the Tour. Just looking on the road there, it looks like the apricot or the abricot are on the road there. This is a fabulous soft fruit growing area. We passed the black olive orchards. There are also grapes kicking around. Well, where isn't there grapes in France, as the riders now are trying to hold off what has become an angry peloton today.
They are very angry. I think they want to have a big race day, because everyone, let's not forget, is looking forward to tomorrow, because tomorrow is a rest day. Although it's not a full day of rest for the riders, because most of them will probably do 3 to 5 hours ride in the morning, because after all it's the day before a mountain stage and everybody worries about how the body is going to react. If you had 14 days of racing hard, then all of a sudden you stop, the body says, oh well, it's all over. And then that's why we always see strange situations produce themselves if there's a mountain stage after a rest day.
Yes, but what a mountain stage. I mean, we climb the giant and fabled Col d'Izoire as we go into Briançon. Then we go over the Col de Lauterre, and then we finish off with a climb of the Alpe d'Huez itself. It's an horrendous day, and it's only one of 3 days in the Alps. That's why they've all been waiting for the last week of the Tour.
Everybody has known this is going to be a very difficult final week. We saw the way the riders handled the Pyrenees. The first day into the Pyrenees, over the Col de Soudet and the Col de Marie Blanc, we thought there was not going to be any race. But the reason was everyone was holding back for the day after, the big massive day through the Pyrenees on the way to the Pla de Béret. I think we're going to see the same situation going into the Alps. We're looking at a very difficult final week of racing, and everybody knows that they can lose the Tour de France on a single day. Alpe d'Huez, La Toussuire, or even Morzine.
Here's Pavel Paternos just freewheeling at the back. Not too sure what they're keeping under there, but they're certainly trying to keep the birds out, that's for sure. Could be the apricot bushes, I think, or there might be the apple trees. Anyway, looking off the left there, they're all together again. Sharp end at the front now. Let's home in on that and see who teams are following. It's all the boys in blue and white. Now, Tom Bonan is not going to waste his riders' energy like this unless he has a plan. The Case de Pan team, who are looking after the yellow jersey there, they're now riding second team at the head of the peloton. Just caught a glimpse of Bonan a little bit further down, knowing that his team are now up front doing their stuff. Robbie McEwen knows now he might have a race on his hand against Tom Bonan. The big breakaway, of course, yesterday wasn't caught. In fact, it won by almost half an hour. Today, I think it might be a different situation as they race for the finish, as they go down towards the ending gap now. There's the leaders out front, and as they continue to race towards the finish, now it's time for the 10-2 moment, which is brought to you by Nike. And it is yesterday. Jens Voigt was the boy. We wonder what happened to him. He got into this long breakaway. He survived with only one rider around him at the back there, Oscar Pereiro. Pereiro tried for the win, even though he was winning yellow. But the man who got it was Jens Voigt. That's his second ever stage win in a Tour de France. He was delighted. For more great stories, go to weareyellow.com. Just looking at the Jens Voigt baseball card here, 34 years of age, Jens now, and 167 pounds. He came up to me after the finish last night and said, "Hey man, I haven't seen you all tour." I said, "Well, I've been talking about you, Jens, but you never come and see me." So at this time, he was stage 13 winner of this year's Tour de France. Lucky for some. Here we have the casual face here of Mario Ertz. Life is rather smooth as he rides along beneath what I think really are apple trees in the area. Well, of course, wanting to keep away the birds and also probably shielding a little bit from the very, very hot sun that now will burn down here all summer. Bit of water required as well to make the apples swell. The breakaways still going well. The gap, funnily enough, Paul, despite the work being done by the group behind, is held, but it's not getting smaller.
No, it's pretty much locked in at the 5.5 minute mark, and that will be bad for the morale of the riders from Quick-Step because they will be hurting now. They'll wait for 10 or 15 kilometers to see if it starts to tilt into the right direction. If they see in 10 kilometers time that it's 4.5 minutes, then they will feel a lot more confident and they will continue with their effort. If they don't see it start to come down, they may well give up.
Well, they won't give up yet because there's still every reason to think this will happen. It's only 55 kilometers to go to the finish. It is not a flat run in, of course. We've got the one big second category climb still to come. We've got a small sprint at La Plaine, but that shouldn't be causing too much interest for the breakaways. But if you take a good look at the speed of that peloton, they're not enjoying the ride anymore. They are really going very, very quickly now. There was a very fast start to the ride today. In the first hour, they covered 47 kilometers, which was one of the quickest of the last 3 days.
And it certainly wasn't flat at all. We get a chance now to look at some of the heart rates. Sergei Gonchar, the man who led the race very early on, he can get up to 189 beats a minute with his heart rate, but at the moment in the main field he's only turning out 119, so he's having a fairly comfortable ride. But I think what's more impressive is that information which is brought to us by a transponder shows that the main field is riding along at an excess of 60 kilometers an hour.
Well, all I can say is it must be on a flat road with a tailwind right now, and it looks as though it might well be as they continue to race. This is the back of the peloton. And sitting there right on the back of the peloton is Marco Velo. Not looking too ominous today for a stage win. And there's another nice little shot as we continue to race over this bridge here. And there's the murky waters. Actually, it's washing away all the dirt of the winter as it comes down from the mountains. The snow, of course, gone. Not always gone in the Alps. There are glaciers that never lose that icy backdrop high above Alpe d'Huez. These riders on wide road for the moment. There's no route nationale here, no national roads. They're always on what they call D roads, most pleasant areas. Well, there's the new man in the yellow jersey, still thinking of keeping it tonight. He might have a good chance. We'll take a break.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. Introducing The all-new Saab 97X. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another SUV. Saab, born from jets. Take flight in the 97X SUV for under $39,500.
Lance Armstrong is not a cyclist. He is a leader. He uses all that he has accomplished to lead an army of cancer survivors and to give hope to everyone fighting the disease everywhere. What do you hope to accomplish? Your goals are our goals. American Century Investments. Invest in what matters.
Where would you go for a delicious panini hot off the grill? How about your microwave? Try a Corner Bistro panini from Stouffer's. Cooked on our revolutionary grilling tray, they're the only panini that actually grill to perfection in your microwave. For a crispy, restaurant-inspired panini at home, try our full menu of Corner Bistro panini. And see what's cooking at Stouffer's.
OLN's having a summer bash, and we're bringing the punch. Every Thursday, it's Fight Night, featuring live bouts and classic clashes. The best little leaguers from around the globe swing for the fences at the Cal Ripken World Series. Plus, World Team Tennis smashes right through to the finals. The Battle of the Sexes explodes on Survivor Vanuatu. And no bash is complete without the beef. The PBR returns with a vengeance. OLN Summer Bash. It's a guaranteed hit. Some perfection is debatable. Some is not. Patron, the world's #1 ultra-premium tequila. Simply perfect. Please drink responsibly.
Welcome back. Those are the 6 leaders. They still have a terrific advantage on today's stage, but the chase is on as we ride 181 kilometers from Montélimar to the Alpine city of Gap today. On the eve of the rest day, remember, and then the riders will be heading off for 3 tough days in the Alps. Don't forget, we will have a program for you tomorrow, even though it is a rest day, and then the last week really does begin. These are the leaders. Because they're slightly uphill again, the speed has come down to around 36 kilometers an hour, 22 miles an hour. The gap is also just hovering now on 5 minutes, so the chase has brought back half a minute on these riders. They'll need to go a little bit quicker than that, but I think they've started the chase early enough to spoil the fun for these 6 riders. And just taking a drink here is Matthias Kessler. I couldn't think of his name for the moment. I was actually preoccupied there because we've just realised it's Miguel Indurain's 42nd birthday today.
Yep, it is the grand Miguel's birthday.
We used to have a bit of his birthday cake, didn't we? Every tour
those were the days when we used to go to the start of the race and go to the Village Depart, and there was always a massive cake on Miguel's birthday, and he was usually wearing the yellow jersey at the time.
He was.
But still looking every bit as fit as he was when he raced, Miguel, and he was a very noble athlete. If you ever get a chance to go down to his home region, in the region around Pamplona, and you talk to the people there about Miguel Indurain, you think you're talking, the people are talking back to you as if they're talking about a king.
Absolutely right, the King of Spain. Well, as we're also his birthday today, it's no coincidence, of course, it is Stefano Garzelli. He's in the race today, he's 33, and he once won the Grand Prix Miguel Indurain as well, which is the race which is named after Miguel since his retirement. Anyway, that's the birthdays out the way. Miguel, I'm sure, is enjoying watching the Tour de France now. He's never shown any regrets at not having to ride it. He still stays pretty fit, though.
Well, that tenuous link you're bringing up there, in fact, Matthias Kessler on the front has won the Grand Prix Miguel Indurain on 2 occasions. Now, he's in the breakaway on Miguel Indurain's birthday. Maybe that's a tip for the future.
We should have thought of that one, Paul. There's a fine piece of art down there. A bit big for Miguel or anybody else in the Tour, but waiting for the passage is that wonderful Velo. 5 minutes, so they've knocked 40 seconds off, so the chase is having an effect. But is it quick enough with 49 kilometers to go? In the favour of the chase, though, is that second category climb.
Well, that's the advantage that the chasers are hoping to pull it back to a couple of minutes before they come to that final climb of the day, because they know then that the main field will split into a large number of pieces and maybe eliminate a number of the sprinters.
So it looks as though the Peloton are now arriving in the same town where the race went through, La Ragne-Montélimar, as they course through the middle of the town. Lots of people down there to welcome the Tour de France. It doesn't make a lot of appearances in this region of France, so they'll be pleased to see it. All right, well, time for you to get back onto our website at olntv.com and take part in our Saab Watch and Win sweepstakes. Remember, you dial in at Fly to the Finish, and the watchword you want is domestique today. Vive le Tour, long live the Tour de France. As the Peloton pass by, they won't have seen that, of course, at ground level as we did. Sunday and a nice holiday here. They've also celebrated the French Bastille Day. If you're hearing lots of noise, it's because a racing car has just demonstrated how to go quickly through the finishing straight here in Gap. And I wonder if the sprinters will be doing likewise very shortly, because they are indeed closing in, and it's all down to the riders in quick step. Leaky Gas are closing in as well. They've still got their sprinter, Luca Paolini, but sadly now without Magnus Backstedt, who has retired about an hour ago today from Sweden. Coming up after the break, it'll be a little bit of a profile on Oscar Pereiro. Who is this man who pops out of nowhere and suddenly leads the Tour de France? We'll take a break.
Disgrace and embarrassment for the cyclists.
Broken hearts. Broken bones. Broken dreams. Controversy claimed the pre-race favorites. Those who avoided the scandal couldn't avoid the pavement.
Oh, no.
Now, the long shots with an outside chance suddenly have the inside track, and the wide-open road to crown the next king has never been so fierce. The Cyclism Tour de France continues Tuesday live only on OLN.
All power with no shift shock. The next Nissan Maxima with CVT, part of the next generation of Nissan thinking.
Hi, it's me, Mike Rowe, host of Discovery Channel's Dirty Jobs with the good news. Shark Week is back.
And now, you can watch an exclusive uncut Shark Week premiere, behind-the-scenes footage, and extra bonus material, including the best Shark Week episodes from years past. With Comcast On Demand, dive into Shark Week this summer on the Discovery Channel.
Blow me a kiss.
What are you, high? You got nothing to worry about.
Get HBO On Demand. It's the best thing to happen to TV since HBO.
Welcome back. There is the yellow jersey, Oscar Pereiro, riding pretty cool and calm and collected, beyond his wildest dreams, riding in yellow. You start a day 28 minutes and 50 seconds behind. You don't expect to lead the Tour. That's exactly what he is doing now. And he doesn't look as though he's exactly under pressure with the pace being set by the quick-step riders at the moment. All right, well, as they race towards the finish with 6 leaders, it's time for us now to look at our Capital One athlete profile.
Spanish rider Oscar Pereiro turned pro in 2000, but his career really blossomed over the last 2 years as a member of the Swiss outfit Team Phonak. In the 2004 edition of the Tour de France, he enjoyed a solid overall performance with the 10th place. Then in the 2005 race, he tasted the ultimate glory of a stage win when he was first across the line into Pau. He finished with a 10th place overall and became a very hot commodity. For 2006, he signed with the Case d'Epargne squad as a support rider to the team leader Alejandro Valverde. But when Valverde crashed out on the road to Valkenburg, Pereiro took on the role of leader, and yesterday proved why he deserves it. With his breakaway effort, he rode himself into the overall lead and now holds the yellow jersey for the first time in his career. He's shown signs of brilliance in the mountains before, but only time will tell us if he has the ability to hold on to the maillot jaune in the Alps later this week.
And that's our Capital One athlete profile today. Oscar Pereiro, well, he's in the yellow jersey, and yes, it is the first time. And there's some more results for you. He was 10th in the Tour de France in 2005. He was also 10th in the Tour de France in 2004. So he is a good rider, and today I think he's demonstrating that. Now, remember this last year? I thought you might like to see this. This is what you don't do when you want to lead the Tour de France, and is have lunch on the way down a mountain. Take a close look now. Oops, I'm not going to make this corner. Back wheel is locked up. He's very lucky that it wasn't a sheer drop there. It was in fact a grass meadow, and he came back onto the front of the race. We shouldn't laugh because he wasn't hurt. We can. Back with the riders now in the Tour de France. There's one of the, that's in fact a black kite which is flying just above the riders at the moment. It's better to not get dropped from the peloton. He might pick you off. Well, as the kites fly above the riders, who's flying the kites down below? I wonder, Paul, because 6 riders in the lead. The gap is slowly coming down. Do you think it's possible?
I think it's possible. We've got 2 teams on the front now dedicated to the chase of this breakaway. Liquigas thinking about Paolini.
Luca Paolini, yes.
And, of course, Quick Step thinking about their man Tom Boonen, because they've got a very good chance, I think, of getting over the climb. Paolini got himself over the Poggio to get a place in Milan-San Remo a couple of years ago, and that would indicate that he probably feels comfortable. And they probably feel that they can get over this climb with Robbie McEwen not being there, because McEwen obviously is the fastest sprinter in the race.
I just hope the helicopter doesn't blow the maturing apples off the trees here, otherwise the Tour de France won't get back into town, that's for sure. Well, there is the peloton, and the work is changing at the front again a little bit now. And so I wonder what that means, because the gap is coming down. They've pulled back a minute and a half now, and maybe a little bit more. But look at this, we've got Phonak getting themselves back in the front.
Well, Phonak will still presume that they are the team of the leader, the #1 favourite, because in the back of their minds, the riders in front of Floyd Landis are going to disappear from the overall classification once we get into the mountains. Oscar Pereiro lost almost half an hour on the first Pyrenean stage. And of course, Cyril Dessel, who is 8 seconds behind Floyd Landis, will probably disappear once we get to the big slopes of the Alpe d'Huez. That's not what any of these riders at the front, though, Phil, are thinking about. What they're thinking about is catching the leading group.
Cedric Vacher just flicking his arm there while we look at Sergei Honchar's heart rate. It's not too bad at the moment, but it's starting to get a bit higher than normal. There is Tom Boonen. I wonder what he's saying here, because he really wants those boys back.
Well, strangely enough, that little gesture meant that he was tired.
Yes, normally when a rider puts his thumb to his throat like that, it's the going's a bit tough, and I want them to slow down. And we have seen Bonen's team come off the front. I wonder if we're going to see a reversal in the time gap now. Well, we'll find out as the race goes on. It's going to be a rather intriguing day, I think, in today's stage of the Tour de France. And the maillot jaune is looking pretty good right now to get to the rest day in yellow. Still a little way to go before we get to that rest day, though. We'll take a break. Rejoin us in a few moments.
Subway Dinner Theater presents The Dad Who Tried to Make Dinner. Can't wait for the musical! And for dinner, Subway restaurants.
And the delicious new bourbon chicken sandwich. Tender chicken in a zesty sauce, hot and fresh from the oven on freshly baked bread.
Subway! Eat fresh!
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. The turbocharged Saab 9.3 sports sedan with an estimated 31 miles per gallon highway. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Saab, born from jets. Take flight in the 9.3 sports sedan for under $27,000.
Your engine knows what it wants. Pennzoil Platinum. Relearn what you know about synthetic at pennzoilplatinum.com.
Every night, OLN brings you the Tour Enhanced. See today's stage with commentary by Alan Bob, extra features and analysis, and more. The Tour de France Enhanced Prime, tonight at 8 p.m. Brought to you by LL Bean.
Honey, I'm going shopping. 20% off.
All right.
The Home Depot.
Should we take the truck?
Our workday never ends. I'm not saying our people don't go home or have lives, but ending our workday here doesn't stop our best thinking from moving forward someplace else.
Dynamic networking from AT&T enables collaboration around the world and the clock, so Alan's company is always ahead of market demands, schedules, and the competition. The new AT&T, your world, delivered.
I got nothing.
Don't worry about it.
Cindy, I'm home.
Dad!
Warning, the makers of new Tag Wildcard remind you that if you mess with the Kings Queens, you better watch your ace, Jack.
Introducing new Tag Wildcard. Consider yourself warned.
Welcome back as we look across the valleys between the mountains here now. We're racing towards the next big climb of the day on stage 14 of the Tour de France. Gone from the front. Oh, Quickstep, there's been a crash here. What on earth happened there? Well, this is one of those bends which constantly does it. Now, I don't know if we can see that again. Well, here we have, this is how it happened, and it's amongst the break, and in fact, oh dear me, Kessler took a very nasty tumble there, and it was in fact David Cañada locked up, seeing the reaction at the front. Well, that is a bad crash, and this looks as though Cañada suspects he's broken his collarbone.
Phil, these roads, we said earlier, are treacherous roads on the road of the Tour de France. They're very slippy in these conditions. A lot of them have been re-gravelled. He wants the doctor to look at that collarbone. Look again, he was going round the corner, and the front wheel just goes. When that happens, you can do nothing, and Kessler had nowhere to go. He was fully locked up. He wasn't going to go down at all, then all of a sudden the barrier's in the way, straight over the top, and he went down pretty hard.
Well, Kessler, I'm hoping he's going to get up. Look at the jersey here on David Cañada. Cañada slammed his back brake on because he saw the problem at the front of the rider going in, and he completely locked up and fell. He's taken out Kessler, who has piloted over his bike into the bushes. Everybody is over there with Matthias Kessler. Well, you're going along in a breakaway of 6. Everything is working completely normally, and then this happens.
Well, I'm wondering if there's another rider gone down there as well, because that is the Cofidis team manager there on the right-hand side. So if the team manager of Cofidis is there, Rick Verbrugge could well be down there too.
I think it was Verbrugge who was taking them around the corner, and he was the one that got the wrong line. And let's see again now. It's Verbrugge at the front, you see. Completely wrong line.
Yeah, Verbrugge was the first man to lose it, a fraction there. And let's have a look there, just at the front, and he went right over. Kessler's further back. This is amazing. This is a lot to do with fatigue. It's a lot to do with the road surface. And the man who was just behind there, I don't know how he missed it. The rider in second place was the rider from De Vietemont. That was Mario Ertz, and he only just got round Rick Verbrugge.
Well, he's a Belgian cyclist, and they're known for their expert bike handlers, but Verbrugge also. There's poor old Rick down there now. That's a very nasty crash for Rick Verbrugge, and I think by the look of it he is out of the Tour de France there, because he was the one that lost his line, and then Cañada saw him lose his line, overreacted and caused the ricochet crash at the back.
Well, the overreaction combined of course with the road surface, which was very slippery indeed, caused the front wheel of Cañada to go away. Then you can't control it. Once the front wheel's gone, you've completely lost it. The man at the back, Kessler, he'd locked up the back wheel, but he was still controlling the bike. He was still in control. If there hadn't been a barrier at the side of the road, he probably wouldn't have come down. But
now, Paul, they've got to get these cars away from here, because the Peloton are going to be here in a couple of minutes. They need all of that corner, and they need warning too about that sharp right-hand bend.
They seriously do. I'm sure the police have got this covered. I'm sure the police are going to be 200 or 300 meters before this corner, warning the main field of the danger. But at the speed the main field are coming here, look, they can't be far away from it.
There's a change at the front now. It's Milram has also come up here now for Eric Zabel. And now we've only got 3 riders racing up front. It's a complete devastation. The lead now is down to 3.5 minutes, 3:36.
Well, the policeman's there slowing them down. Well, let's hope they all got round there safely. The group that was 6 riders now, Phil, is down to 3. Mario Ertz is up in the leading group here. There is Salvatore Comesso. And just looking on the back, I would expect to see Peric Fedrigo as well, the French national champion. There he is in the blue. Well, this will really rattle these 3 riders in this leading group. I'm sure Mario Ertz was asking, where is Rick Verbrugge? Because after all, they are pretty good mates. They've been together.
Well, we're looking down here on a giant apple, because this is the apple growing region, but there is the peloton running below here now and closing in quickly on the 3 leaders. As we look down on the race here in the Tour de France, we're trying to pick up the peloton. There they are, absolutely flying. Carlos de Cruz is the rider on the back, but there are now only 3 riders speeding away at 3 minutes and 36 seconds the lead, because of that incredible accident taking out 3 riders over the crash barrier. Verbrugge crashed to the front, Cañada and Kessler crashes at the back.
Well, Phil, you know, this is the unpredictable Tour. This is the most unpredictable Tour I think we have ever commentated on. It's changing every 10 or 15 kilometers. That was very sad, because if the 6 riders had remained together in that situation, it was touch and go as to whether or not they were going to get caught. I hope that Rick Verbrugge is not seriously injured. There was an awful lot of blood down there, but Verbrugge was immediately attended to by the race doctors, who in this race have got an incredible amount of experience. They've picked up many athletes from the side of the road, and they know exactly what they're doing at the right time.
Absolutely. Well, the gap seems to be locked in at 3:36 at the moment. The police are on hand. They slowed the peloton down. The whole field is safely through. Well, that's what's going on here now, because this looks like Kessler's got himself back on his bike. He's got himself a new racing jersey too, I think, or perhaps not. But he's now riding along here, waiting for the peloton. He's going to feel pretty shaken up. He went for a real perler over the top of his bike, but it looks as though he may have had a fortunate fall, if that is impossible.
Well, he was very much in control of his machine when he went. He was the only rider who really seemed to know how he was handling himself, and the thing that flipped him over was the crash barrier at the side of the road. I think he was probably more scared and winded than anything else. You can just see the dirt on his shoulder there. He will get picked up by the main field, but a big sad loss for him and T-Mobile.
And these 3 guys now, without the firepower, surely they'll get caught on the Sentinel. Well, you never know what's around the corner, do you, in a Tour de France? We're on the road to Gap, let me remind you, and it was on this same road, not this actual road, but on the road into Gap in 2003. We had that crash which involved Yoshiba Bolocki, and I think we can show you pictures of that. Actually, let's remind ourselves of it. It was stage 9 then. Look at that. He completely locked up his back wheel. Lance Armstrong, wearing yellow, takes a dive across country while the riders go round a complete horseshoe bend. Lance finds there's a ditch in his way. He has to remount, run over the ditch, get back on the road. As the field come round, they must have wondered, where on earth has Lance been? And that was Tyler Hamilton there saying, come on, join us. But there's the crash again. And that crash really has meant that Yoshiba Bolocki has never fought his way back into the rider he was back in 2003. Incredible pictures. People talk about these to this very day. Well, they're on those same approach roads to Gap today. This is behind the peloton at the moment. All of these cars will know what has happened by now because of the radio communication. This is Juan Antonio Fletcher briefly. And now it is the leaky gas team stamping on the pedals, revitalized by the fact that 3 riders are no longer in that front group. And the gap is still being pegged at around 3:36, which I find a little bit surprising. Or maybe the adrenaline is pumping now through the blood of through the veins of those 3 riders up in front. Well, this Tour de France is ever changing this year, and there's another situation which has altered the day's happenings, I think. These are the 3 men now desperately trying to stay clear for the finish. I'm not sure whether they will. There is the crash. Oh boy, that was a tough one. We'll take a break.
OLN's having a summer bash, and we're bringing the punch. Every Thursday it's fight night, featuring live bouts and classic clashes. The best little leaguers from around the globe swing for the fences at the Cal Ripken World Series. Plus, World Team Tennis smashes right through to the finals. The Battle of the Sexes explodes on Survivor Vanuatu. And no bash is complete without the beat. The PBR returns with a vengeance. OLN Summer Bash. It's a guaranteed hit.
One part of this concept car is already on the road. Michelin MX tires. Chosen by more luxury car makers to enhance the performance of their cars. Michelin, a better way forward.
Pillaging was great this time of year, but with so many people switching to Capital One, we've taken jobs as camp counselors. Burnt a village to the ground, doodah, doodah. We're not exactly role models.
For low rates and great rewards, switch to Capital One.
What's in your wallet? Put your backs into it!
What can you wear everywhere? Watch QVC for this multicolored cultured freshwater pearl strand from Honora. Featured at a special one-day price throughout the day, Friday, July 21st on QVC and QVC.com.
Free yourself from big phone bills. With Comcast Digital Voice, you get unlimited local and long distance, plus 12 popular calling features, while saving more than 20% over Quest. And it's only $39.95 a month for Comcast customers. Comcast Digital Voice. It's Comcastic. Switch to Comcast Digital Voice risk-free and get all your Comcast services on one bill.
Well, despite the crashes, the Tour de France goes on. The beautiful scenery here remains of the Alps as they race now towards the finish in Gap. There's the peloton. And now they really have got their tails up because they know that 3 riders have crashed up front. They've caught 1, 2 have been left on the road. There are 3 more still to bring back. And I have to say that Mario Ernst, Salvatore Comesso, Pierrick Fedrigo are doing a great ride because that gap is being held at 3:25. And that's despite the efforts being done now by the Italian leaky gas team. They're setting the pace, and all of the team is up here now. One day they're going to get Luca Paolini across the line in first place, 3:25. The whole team is up here now of leaky gas, Paul, and yet when they get to the finish, we've seen it every time they've got the team to the finish in a bunch. Luca Paolini has not been able to deliver the goods.
Well, he hasn't, but in a situation like this, what he's thinking about is getting over the climb, putting a bit of pressure on, getting rid of McEwen, getting rid of Tom Boonen, and then he would be the fastest man. But they're all counting out somebody else who, to me, is the best climber of all of the sprinters, and that's Oscar Freire. 2-stage win so far. He could be looking at win number 3.
Well, as we're looking at the leaders here, I have to tell you that here in Gap, the clouds are beginning to come in, and we don't want rain on the run down the Col de la Sentinel, because if it does rain, it is torrential rain. It's caused, of course, by that consistent hot weather, and then we tend to get a thunderstorm. It usually holds off till around 5:30 at night here, and we certainly need that to be the case today. 3:25, they're not pulling them back at the moment.
Well, we've been over 2 third category climbs so far this afternoon, a second category climb. Now we're lining up for the final sprint point of the day. Not important in itself for the 3 riders at the front, but the second category climb down towards the end, if they still survive, is where the man who is the strongest in that group, Phil, might think about launching a solo attack to the finish.
So just to look at Jose Rubiera on the far right, number 8 there. He's scurrying back up to find his teammates. He's got about 7 bottles in his back pocket there. This is Jimmy Casper. He's sitting at the wrong end of the race just now, but hanging on in there. They are absolutely tanking along here now.
They really are. They're picking up the tailwind. They're riding along at around about 60 kilometers an hour in the main field. And if you have a look at the hills in front of you, sadly for them, they've got to go over the side of that hill before they get down to the finish line in Gap. Still a bit of help at the front from Team Milram. They seem to have backed off a fraction. They've only got 1 rider working with Team Liquigas, but the pace is still high enough. They still seem to be having an effect on that advantage, because it's down to 3 minutes and 25 seconds, but it's not coming down now quite as quickly.
28 kilometers to go. David Miller had his hand up then. Here's the small group of 3 riders now. 17.8 miles to go. Surely they're going to make it now. We wouldn't want to take that away from them, would we? After that horrendous accident, splitting the brake in half. All right, well, let's continue our Saab Watch and Win sweepstake competition. Go to olntv.com/fly to the finish, and you'll need the code word today, which is domestique. This is Pierre Fedrigo. I always get his name confused. Pierre Fedrigo, former champion of France. The 3 riders up front now. Only 3 teams represented, of course. Salvatore Camesso setting the pace. 28 kilometers from the finish. I just saw the French flag there, Paul. They are making the most of this tailwind today, and well they might. And with 28 kilometers to go, 3 minutes 15. It's just because of the hill that they won't make it, I think.
It's just the hill which is the big question mark, I think, in everybody's mind, because if the main field has still got the pressure to keep it on, these riders could see themselves losing about 1.5 minutes on that final climb of the day. But it depends on whether or not Liquigas have got the power to keep the chase on at the front end of the main field. They seem to at the moment. Looks like Eric Zabel's men don't have the power, because they've taken a bit of a back seat. Nice day for the yellow jersey of Oscar Pereiro, because he really hasn't had to do an awful lot.
No.
And Floyd Landis, he's just been cruising.
But the field itself has been riding hard, and looking the way the camera is panning down the pack here, I think Tom Bonan was feeling the pace, because he's called his team completely away from the front of the race.
Well, I wondered if he was throwing us a little bit of a Lance Armstrong in the Alps from a couple of years ago, but maybe not. And that's why he pulled the riders off. He's a fairly straight character, Tom Bonan.
Oh, he's a super guy as a person, and of course he's as big as the footballer David Beckham in his own country of Belgium. He's good looking. He's on all the posters. There's a lot of more female people watch women's cycling now, Paul, because of Tom Bonan.
They certainly do. He's got that playboy image, but the playboy image hasn't brought him any stage wins so far in the Tour. Maybe today.
This is the champion of France, Florent Bois, one of the few Frenchmen to ride on a foreign team. He rides for the Spanish team, which now has the race leader on it, of course. There's the helicopter, there's the peloton. This is the Tour de France. 3 riders are clear. Yes, that was the face of Kessler, but at least he's back in the race right now after that spectacular tumble. No news on Cañada and Verbrugge. We'll take a break.
Floyd Landis is cycling's tough guy. So tough his hip needs to be replaced. But he'll still ride on to keep the yellow jersey in America. The Cyclism Tour de France continues Tuesday at 7 a.m. live, only on OLN.
Your life doesn't have one dimension. Neither should your beer. Michelob Ultra. Because you do more. It does too. Live life to the ultra.
So, boss, what keeps you up at night? Maybe you've been tasked with coming up with the next best thing since sliced bread. But look at the guy who invented sliced bread. He didn't invent bread. He didn't invent slicing. He just applied new technology to an age-old problem. Now, who's going to help you do that?
Hand up there by Florent Bras. Wants another drink of water, I would think, at the back of the peloton, because the pace is hot. The weather is hot and humid. The finish line is looking like rain right now as the riders continue to go to the back, grab water and get back in the pack. These riders now are racing just underneath 50 kilometers an hour. They're picking up a good tailwind, that's for sure. And I have to say, those three riders up front are doing a terrific job right now. These boys have worked for about 10 kilometers to get back about 4 seconds. They're holding them. And the only workers are the lime green jersey of Leaky Gas and that one light blue rider there. I think it's Grifko, who's there for Milram. And the black jersey riders here are of the race leader, and they've looked after him today. They've transformed, as they so often do when you get the leader on your squad. They've looked like a good team today, Case Depon.
It's all it takes to turn a ragged team into a world-class professional team. A little bit of luck, a little bit of success, and that's what changes. Remember what US Postal Service was like when they first came to ride the Tour de France in 1998, 1997. They weren't a great team at all. Then all of a sudden, they got the lead with Lance Armstrong in 1999, and then you had 8 strong men. It really does boost your morale if you get a little bit of success, and that's all it takes sometimes to change a career.
Absolutely right. And these three riders are living with a little bit more than just hope, I think. They're fancying their chances here. Fedrigo seems to be doing the most, according to the computer, putting in a 41% work rate. Camesso is 34%, and Mario Ertz is 25%.
Just dropping off a fraction there, Mario Ertz, although since the start, the majority of the riders in this breakaway have shared it. I think maybe Mario Ertz just holding back a fraction now, starting to think about the climb that's coming up ahead and picking up that tailwind. We have seeing an average speed of 57 kilometers an hour. Race radio Phil crackling with the sad news that Rick Verbrugge has abandoned the race and will be transported to a nearby hospital for just a checkup to see how he is.
Well, that is sad. 1 minute you're winning a stage or hoping to, and he was a real favourite today to take a stage. The next minute you're on your way to hospital. It happens in the Tour de France. It's happened again today. So Rick Verbrugge is the third man to leave the Tour de France today. No update yet on David Cañada, but I suspect he also is probably going to hospital with a broken collarbone. Well, Paul, they've just gone under 25 kilometres to go. At 30 kilometres, they were 3 minutes 25 behind. At 25 kilometres, they're 3 minutes behind. That's not quite the catch rate, is it?
It is not quite on the catch rate, but you've got to factor in that there's a very nasty climb coming quite shortly, and it's a climb of around about 5.8 kilometres in length, and it climbs up at an average of 5%. These guys now starting to figure out whether or not they're going to survive to the climb, and I think once they do get to the climb, somebody is going to try and go clear. There's Matthias Kessler at the back. We're just about coming into the sprint point in the small town of La Plaine at 160 kilometers covered. Then pretty much after that, it will be almost all uphill to the summit of the Col de la Sentinel. You can just see the rips on the jerseys here of Kessler. He was very unlucky, but I suppose if we turn it around the other way, he was lucky because he's come away uninjured.
He looks as though he's come away uninjured, but he certainly had the stuffing knocked out of him, because he's now riding at the back of the race here. All he wants to do now is get to the finish, get to the massage table and get himself fit and well again. Remember, he's got the good fortune of having the day off tomorrow Although, of course, because they're in the mountains, the riders will pedal the bikes. They will keep nice and loose, but there'll be no big effort made. 22 kilometers to go. Taillard is where we are now, or Taillard. And the three leaders are still on with a chance here.
Very good chance with 22 kilometers to go and still only just inside of 3 minutes advantage, going through the very picturesque town of Taillard here. But once they've gone through Taillard Hill after 2 or 3 kilometers, then the road kicks up for that very nasty second category climb at the end of the day.
Just look at the crowd here. They'll go back to enjoying the holiday tomorrow when the race has gone by, or they'll pack their bags and they'll be going off to Alpe d'Huez. These are the three leaders now, and I think everybody will know that the other three have crashed, and they're probably willing them on to win because the bad luck has been against them today.
Salvatore Comesso, he'll be wondering whether or not he can stick with these guys. You know, Pereiro there on the front is not a bad climber, Phil.
Also seeing, Paul, now that they've taken, in fact, David Cagnarda away in the same ambulance as Rick Verbrugge, so both riders out of the Tour de France.
Yeah, that's very sad indeed. And Rick Verbrugge, I think, would be tipped as probably one of the favourite riders in this leading group of 6. So now these three have got to wonder, can they survive over the final climb of the day? Federico on the front, Phil, is not a bad climber because he's finished in the top 5 in the Tour de l'Avenir on 2 occasions.
Oh yes, he's got to be respected. Big effort now. Mario Hertz is driving on. He's going to keep this going as much as he can. He still dreams of getting a good result out of today's stage, despite having lost half of the breakaway. So as the riders race on now towards the finishing line, let us remind ourselves too that World Team Tennis comes to OLN with the big stars Venus Williams, Todd Martin, Martina Hingis, and the return of the great Pete Sampras, the Eddie Merckx of the tennis world. It all starts today at 11 a.m. with the Newport Breakers taking on the 5-time World Tennis Champions, Sacramento Capitals. That's the World Team Tennis on OLN, and it's coming to you, presented by Advanta, right after the Tour. These boys can't finish quick enough to watch the tennis, I think, because they want to try and stay away from that field. 240, it's coming down. Well, it looks like the riders have been inspired by the big crowd in Taillard, because the gap is coming down to 2 minutes 40 seconds. We're not too far away from the last sprint of the day. They won't sprint. They'll just continue to help each other at this stage.
Well, I think and hope they will have learned of the tactics and some of the bad tactics of some of the other breakaway groups who've tried to attack each other too far from the finish, and then at the end of the day they've had to pay for their efforts. As Salvatore Comesso gets out of the saddle, these riders know that they need to keep together for just a few more kilometers until they get to the first slopes of the climb. Then if they're feeling strong, that's the time to make the move. But make sure when you make the move, it's going to be a winning move and you don't get caught out.
So we're looking here at this fine old building. It's in the town of Taillard. As we're looking here at the riders going around, just have a look at the points jersey situation there. McEwen has got 252 points. He might be in with a shout too if this race comes together. We're not too sure what condition Tom Bonan's in, but he's only 30 points behind McEwen. Oscar Freire is in 3rd. These are the same 5 that have been around virtually the whole tour, all following McEwen now for more than a week, but they aren't giving him an easy ride. They're taking points when they can. Remember, they're sprinters, so you've got to come in late. Wow, now look at this. This is the main field in Taillard, and they just nearly overshot the whole bend as a team there, but they got away with it. Wow, that was a close one. Well, there's the sad news. Verbrugge has a suspected broken leg and also lacerations to his arm. Cagnarda has a broken right collarbone. I think we saw that. And here's time for a wheel change up in the main field here. In fact, it might be a bike change. It is. So this is the quickest way to do it. If you've got problems, this looks like a quick bike change too. Garati, is it? And he's on his way. Okay, I couldn't see his championship bands there, but it is Juan Manuel Garati, and nobody's going to wait for him, including his teammates. He's going to have to get back by himself today. Boy, this is a busy day on the Tour de France as we race towards Gap. And don't forget, the mountains await the day after tomorrow. We're going to have a tough time this last week. We'll see you in a moment.
Saab was founded by 16 aircraft engineers. Their spirit lives on. Introducing the all-new Saab 97X. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another SUV. Saab, born from jets. Take flight in the 97X SUV for under $39,500.
This week on Wild Over, me and Gorp are down south for an invigorating winter break. With temperatures as high as -30, it's important to keep yourself cool. Antarctica, the biggest party island of them all.
Brought to you by new Smirnoff Ice. New invigorating taste.
Premium malt beverage, please drink responsibly.
You too can get the royal treatment in OLN Cyclism Sweepstakes. To enter, go to a participating retailer and grab a water bottle, where you could instantly win a Trek racing bike, plus a chance at winning a cycling trip in France. The Cyclism Sweepstakes, and watch the cyclism, the men who would be king. The Tour de France on OLN.
Come into Turin Bicycles for your chance to win. And watch the Tour de France on OLN, brought to you by Turin Bicycles at 7th and Lincoln.
Get out of credit card debt now with Safeguard Credit Counseling Services. Safeguard is a nonprofit debt management company dedicated towards helping you get out from under your mounting credit card debt while still meeting your monthly financial obligations. Regardless of your credit history, Safeguard negotiates with your creditors and lowers your interest rate down to 0 to 10%. We consolidate all of your credit card payments into one low monthly payment, and you can save thousands of dollars. Pay off that debt in a fraction of the time. Call now for a free no-obligation analysis.
Welcome back as the riders now pile drive their way up towards those three leaders. They've got a little way to go yet. We're getting to the base of the Col de Sentinel, the Century watching over the Tour de France as it rides towards it today. And a lot of riders now have been slipping out the back of the race. We've just seen two riders from Phonak, the team of Floyd Landis, go behind the race. As we look down now on the peloton, it's getting a little bit ragged down there. And this is up with the leaders now, and I think in fact that Pereiro is feeling very, very tired. A lot of work's going to be left now to Salvatore Commesso, the gap 2:22. Well, looking at the leaders now, and this is Mario Ertz. I think the first rider to crack here is going to be this man, Fedrigo. He is looking very, very tired. I don't think they can survive this, but they're not going to give up. They'll see how they ride on the col itself. They're virtually on it.
They've still got a chance with 2 minutes and 15 seconds and 16 kilometers to go to the finish. If they can preserve a minute, if they can only lose a minute on the slopes of this climb, then they can survive with a minute on the downhill run towards the outskirts of Gap.
Well, this is a look back to the main field here, now riding 2 minutes 11 seconds only as they're starting the lower slopes of the Col de la Sentinel. Floyd Landis just on our picture there, dead center. He's lost a couple of teammates in the last few minutes behind the race. Off to his right in blue is Christophe Moreau. Could be a danger later. I've noticed Cadel Evans right alongside Landis. They're not losing time, they're just playing the waiting game. But the pack is beginning to look a little bit more disjointed, Paul.
But it's also a change in the hierarchy at the front as we see riders disappearing. Peter Vrolik, the sprinter from Gerolsteiner, he's disappearing. The next man to pop is Ronnie Schultz. He's also a fast man. Also going back there was Vincenzi Garcia Acosta. Matthias Kessler, not a surprise.
Not a surprise. Kessler is, I don't know if you notice his helmet there, Paul, but he's still got stones wedged in the helmet. You see that? The wedged in the ribs of the helmet. And now he's just going off the back. He's got time to ride home. He'll lose time. He's not worried about that. He'll just wait till he gets a massage tonight, and hopefully he'll be okay. The other two riders in the crash are out.
Yeah, Commesso having a little dig there, but a little word from Fedrigo. He might have been the rider who looked the weakest there, Phil, but he came alongside Comessa and said, don't try attacking just let, because we need to stay together if we're going to survive. French national champion, done a lot of work this afternoon for the team. He too for sitting up sort of tactically now because he knows he won't get eliminated. Also moving backwards as well, that is Christophe Lemervel of Crédit Agricole. These riders now will just hope to survive and get to the finish in their own speed.
The man from Pau, Stéphane Auger, dropping off as well. This is a very hot and humid day. You see the clouds I was telling you about, they're right over Gap at the moment, and it could well rain before the riders get here. These are the three leaders now. Well, it has been all of a sudden. First of it was Tom Bonan putting Quick-Step on the front. Then came Leaky Gas, a couple of riders from Milran. And you know, that pace has hurt. Details of the Col de la Sentinel at 15 kilometers to go. As they swing off the highway, it's always bad news when you leave the highway.
Well, this is the start of the climb of the Col de la Sentinel, 5.2 kilometers in length, 5% the average gradient, but at the top there's 10 kilometers to go to the finish. That's what these guys are aiming for.
And just looking here, the road looks a little bit wet here. It may be the melting tar, or they may have caught just the side edge of the shower that is threatening to come down on Gap right now. These are the riders in the peloton. It's not over yet for the three up front, but we'll know in a few minutes once we get onto that big climb. Well, remember, Salvatore Comessa is a bit younger in these days. This was 1999. He picked up stage 13. Remember, today we're on stage 14. Then move on to the year 2000, sprinting it out with Alexander Vinokourov. But you can't beat a good sprinter. He's a little bit more than just a sprinter now, Salvatore Comessa, as about to prove to us. He's second wheel here, as they now climb the Col de la Sentinel. This is going to be the deciding col of the day today. Well, as they continue on the lower slopes for the pack, for the man who may be able to tell us more here, because he's out on the course, is a former rider in the Tour de France, our Frankie Andreu.
Final climb in the Category 2. Look for a lot of attacks on that climb, and that could threaten to kick out the sprinters, not giving them a chance to the finish. I can almost guarantee there's not going to be a yellow jersey change, because for Castelpagna, it means everything to grab the headlines now, and they want to hang on to that glory as long as possible.
Absolutely right, Frankie, and he's in there, happy to come home in the pack today and keep out of the action. He only has to finish in the bunch to keep his race leader's yellow jersey, Oscar Pereiro. These three riders are hanging on. They know if they get to the top, they'll make it. 15 kilometers to go. The peloton have now swung onto the climb of the Col de la Sentinel. They are now heading up towards the finishing line in pursuit, and there's not a lot in it, but once over the top, we will be racing for home. We'll take a short break. We won't miss too much. Rejoin us in a moment.
Intelligent key technology that knows you. Seats that hug you. A ride that spoils you. The next Nissan Maxima, part of the next generation of Nissan thinking.
Yeah, no, I gotta go. Yeah, I'm getting on.
I totally spaced on that one. That was bad.
Let's just use your Capital One no hassle card.
Protect yourself with Capital One's low rates and great rewards.
I am so good.
What's in your wallet?
OLN serves up the return of Pete Sampras in the network premiere of World Team Tennis, a unique and exciting format featuring the best players in the world, head-to-head, team-to-team, and leading up to exclusive coverage of the championship match in August.
It's World Team Tennis on OLN.
Today, Pete Sampras and the Newport Beach Breakers take on the 5-time WTT champs Sacramento Capitals. World Team Tennis presented by Advanta. Today at 11:30, only on OLN.
Bedhead. Proof that you've experienced the new Hampton bed. A plush comforter, a crisp white duvet, and choice of pillows. You'll be well rested and ready for anything. Hampton, home of the proud bedhead.
Subway Dinner Theatre presents The Unfed.
I smell a blockbuster! And for dinner, Subway restaurants!
Try our delicious turkey breast with honey mustard and cucumber sandwich. Savory turkey, crisp veggies, and sweet honey mustard sauce.
Subway! Eat fresh!
Welcome back to Peloton here, getting a little bit more active now because that's Michael Bogart, the champion of the Netherlands, on the front two now, prepared to push the chase. He is having a great Tour de France. Remember, he was one of the big survivors on the top of the Pyrenean climbs, only dropped off up near the finish of the day. I think we have had a little bit of a shower here. It wasn't on the riders, it was just before they came. There's the two leaders. And still just Comesso and Fedrigo are making the move now. They've got rid of Mario Ertz. Now just coming around the bottom corner here, this is the peloton. And out right in the middle there's a rider going, oh, that was a nasty fall, right into the ditch. I don't know if you saw that. That was the Cofidis rider. He seems okay, he's getting up, but he's caused a ricochet effect on the floor there. Stefan Gubert of AG2R. And now look at the carnage which is going on behind. The rider who fell here was probably rider 134, Sylvain Chavanel. Well, the rider that toppled on the climb, Paul, was Sylvain Chavanel, the Cofidis man. He fell right into the ditch. And look at this now. Comesso is trying to rid himself of Fedrigo. I've got a feeling Fedrigo is a bit stronger than we thought.
Well, let's not forget, Phil, he was a French national champion a couple of years ago. He's finished well up in races like the Tour de l'Avenir, which is an indication he knows how to go uphill, and he's not scared by the reputation of Salvatore Comesso. But Comesso is a very crafty sprint finisher. Remember when he beat Alexander Vinokourov? Vinokourov so wanted to win onto the roads of Freiburg for T-Mobile at the time, but you know what? He wasn't going anywhere.
Well, there's a bit of a little acceleration there. This is the back of the race. Stefan Gubert, also one of the riders who fell, I think. Looking a little bit tired here now. They are shooting off the peloton here now, one after another. Well, you can get away is one thing, but keeping it going is another here. That rider's legs just suddenly exploded.
Well, that was a rather strange move there. I think the teammates are all getting a little bit excited
here. Look how
here,
thin the peloton is, Paul. It's been completely shattered on this climb.
It has been completely decimated. As far as I know, all of the main leaders are in this group, because I just caught sight of the yellow jersey and Oscar Pereiro. The last time we were in close at the front end of that main field, Floyd Landis was there, and I'm sure all the other main leaders have not been unlocked from this group.
Well, I'll tell you what, I bet you Robin McEwen and the sprinters are all behind now. We have no news. We know Eric Zabel is, we know Tom Bonen is. Nobody's telling us what has happened to McEwen at the moment. But these two riders are still setting the pace. Their lead now barely a minute. If they can just get over the top, it's going to be a real dramatic chase down. Mario Ertz is still clear, but he can't be far ahead. The peloton must be just behind him. When we get back to the peloton, we will try and see just who, if anybody, is missing that matters today. Here we are. Well, we've still got the top man on the right there for the Netherlands, Michael Bogart. Landis is still here. The Maillot Jaune is still here.
And what about the brave man of the Pyrenees, David de la Fuente? He's right in there as leader of the King of the Mountains classification, Phil. Double points on this climb here because it's the last climb of the day and it's a second category climb. So he will be looking to keep himself in the lead in that competition. But Michael Rasmussen wasn't too far away. He wants to win.
But that explains why that rider from Saunier Duval put in an attack and found he hadn't taken with him the man he wanted to take, which was David de la Fuente. So he had to go back into the pack, trying to lead him out early for the climb. I think it was too early, frankly.
Just a little bit too early. These riders all getting very excited now. There is Sylvain Calzati at the back now, number 34, the man who was the hero when we went on the first day through to the Pyrenees. Rasmussen in the middle. You can see now that Team Discovery taking a serious interest at the front of the race as Chavanel at the arrière de la course, the back of the race, is trying to catch up.
Well, he was the rider that had a rather ugly fall into the ditch, but he doesn't appear to have hurt himself, but he's lost his place in the peloton. There's quite a race going on at the front of the peloton now, and they're trying to lead out the King of the Mountains for the points. But Michael Rasmussen from Rabobank, the defending champion of the King of the Mountains, is right with him. So those two are going to catapult themselves out when it comes to the sprint.
Well, the race situation now is these two leaders have a minute's advantage over the man who was with them a while back, Mario Ertz, and a minute 22 still over the main field. But you can almost see the difference in the speed. Federico coming to the front, digging deep. He knows they've got to get over the summit of this climb, and then it's pretty much downhill. Now Rasmussen's decided, I'm going, my mate, I'm going to get the points here.
Well, Rasmussen's making himself known. That's a sure point, but he's still gone away in a little group of 4, and he's still got the King of the Mountains this year sitting right behind him. Remember, De La Fuente has an 18-point buffer over De Selle. Rasmussen is still 19 points behind in the King of the Mountains. Double points today, and that's going to mean a lot. Here they come. Last year's King of the Mountains on the front. The current King of the Mountains in his first Tour de France, De La Fuente, taking his slipstream.
Well, I tell you what, there's a rider up towards the front of this group as well who is riding very well. In fact, as Jose Luis Arrieta goes backwards here, it looked to me as if Jaime Zubeldia was riding pretty aggressively at the front end of that group.
Well, Jaime Zubeldia, we haven't seen him all day, but there is a rider. I think this is him now, and this is making his acceleration. There is Mario Ertz. He's back in the pack. There are only 2 riders left in the race right now, and this is Zubeldia setting the pace.
Well, Zubeldia there covered very rapidly by Michael Bogard. Michael Rasmussen not very far behind. A lot of riders. Oh, I can't believe what I'm hearing, that David De La Fuente's gone from the front to the back. He was on Sur Regime. He was in the red zone, Phil, and he's popped. What a shame.
He was taken right up to his limits there by Michael Rasmussen, and he couldn't hold it. He's gone backwards. Just looking back there now, this is the last climb. There's still about 15 minutes possibly to ride to the finish. As we see David De La Fuente, that's a sad sight on a climb.
Well, he
was
battled.
tired, he's hanging on in there.
He battled. What a great ride it would have been if he could got himself a few more points. He'll still be the leader of this competition, Phil, going down to the final, going into the Alps, because he's not going to lose his lead this afternoon. He'll just lose a certain portion of it. The 2 leaders still haven't got to the top of that climb. Comesso looks so strong. He's an aggressive animal on a bike. Federico looks a lot better, a lot more comfortable. But if it comes down to the sprint, it's going to be dodgy trying to get round the Italian.
Well, this is turning out to be a nasty, long climb here. These 2 boys wish it was over right now and see if they've got a chance for the finish. The flag of Italy, the flag of the United States, indicating the drift in the wind. It is the former Italian champion leading. Even the flag of Ireland and England are flying there. What an international race this is. There's the top. Nobody needs to win it from these 2, but Salvatore Comesso looks as though he wants it. But now it's the plunge into gap, and that is what he wants, victory down there.
It's going to be difficult, though, because the last time check crackling through race radio is 45 seconds only left for these 2 riders, with 10 kilometers to go to the finish. Comesso looks across at the Frenchman. Have you got any power left in the engine room? Well, we better give it in right now, because we are only just going to survive. Maybe we won't now, as this is Michael Rasmussen accelerating to the front. Michael Bogard living him out. Get onto the wheel, mate, but look at the power of Michael Bogard.
There's the team cars of the 2 leaders. In fact, Bogard is trying to pick up Rasmussen. He'll move over if he can get Rasmussen, but he's gone too strong here. He's ripped away from the field, and he's not got Rasmussen on his back wheel at all, so he's finished it off. I reckon Rasmussen told him he didn't have the legs.
He may well didn't. The man up there with him as well is Frank Schleck. This could be the counter move that's going to steal the glory away from the front of this group.
35 seconds, the official time gap right now. So, coming through on race radio, they're doing the timekeeping. They are saying it's only 35 seconds between Bogart and the 2 riders up front. And Michael Bogart, and I have to say, this is a typical move by Michael, because he's always come strong when the going gets rough. These are the 2 leaders now on the way down. And I don't have to tell you now, the descents in this region are narrow twisting and dangerous, and everybody is going to take risks. We're on the way down the mountain now into Gap itself. There'll be a slight run down the valley road. They've got to watch every inch of the way now. The roads appear a little bit damp out there. No rain has come into Gap, but it certainly has fallen on this side of the Sentinel. So 20 points for Salvadori Comesso, and that's good news for De La Fuente because Comesso's not involved. Rasmussen got 12, so he has closed in now. He was 19 behind. He's now knock off 12. He's only 7 points behind going into the Alps, and that starts the day after tomorrow. There's confirmation. Rasmussen, the defending champion in the mountains, looking very dangerous now. With the high mountains to come from Tuesday, De La Fuente has only a 7-point lead. We're on the way down now. Next stop is the finishing line in Gap. It's not over for these two yet because so many riders are now under pressure. There's still a chance they will survive and make it their day. The Tour de France goes to the finish with you straight after the break, and we'll stay with it to the end.
Every night, OLN brings you the Tour Enhanced. See today's stage with commentary by Al and Bob, extra features and analysis, and more. The Tour de France Enhanced Prime, tonight at 8 p.m. Brought to you by LL Bean.
Honey, I'm going shopping. 20% off.
All right.
The Home Depot.
Should we take the truck?
Magnesium alloy roll cage. The Lenovo ThinkPad T60 with Intel Centrino Duo mobile technology.
This is Duralast, the battery built to exceed the need. Engineered with all the cranking power you need for extreme conditions. Get the battery built to exceed the need. Only at AutoZone.
OLNTV.com is on tour and right in the middle of the Tour de France. Get instant and exclusive access to clips, photos, bios, and race routes, along with stage summaries and forecasts from our team of experts. OLNTV.com, your link to the Tour de France.
Attention. Hi, everybody. I'm Walanda, telling you that Comcast high-speed internet is worth it. Worth it to download quicker, to win auctions in the last second, and worth it to help with that homework. You can have high speed, surfing up to 100 times faster. Want all the worth it of Comcast high-speed internet? Check this out.
Call 1-800-COMCAST today and get high-speed internet for just $29.99 a month for 6 months. Plus, get a self-install kit for just $1.
Comcast high-speed internet gets a thumbs up from Oxygen and a W for worth it.
One chick, one chicken dinner. 6 chicks, 6 chicken dinners. 1 is good, 6 is better.
Especially for NASCAR Nextel Cup Series racing. Now you can add not just 1, but 6 channels of in-car coverage, plus data, telemetry, and team audio, all with NASCAR in-car, only on digital cable. Order today for just $69. Call 1-888-COMCAST today. When it comes to sports, we're on your team.
The Tour de France is now a total free-for-all in the last 9 kilometers of the day, a day which was 181 long. These are the two riders who are on the front. They're going under 5 kilometers to go, and let me tell you that the gap is just about 20 seconds. The peloton are charging what's left of the peloton because there it is, a very small peloton now as they race off the mountain, heading for Gap. George Hincapie is in here, so too Popovic. Well, as you look down there now, they're at 5 kilometers. That wasn't even 20 seconds, Paul. That was about 15 now. So they should have these two riders with about 3 kilometers to race.
Well, you know, Team Discovery have got 3 riders in that group behind, and I nearly thought about tipping George Hincapie for the win this afternoon. Hincapie, I never forget the fact, and a lot of people do, that in the early part of his team, in the early part of his career, he was renowned as being a very good bunch sprinter. You remember when we saw him get disqualified from a sprint in the Homestead? I thought that was very unfair of the referees at the time. He was only 19 years of age. But when he needs to, Hincapie can turn out a very good turn of speed, and he's got nothing else to race for in this Tour except stage victories.
Well, these two can tick off another kilometre. No time gained in kilometres 4 to 5, still 20 seconds. Now it looks as though Team Discovery Channel have decided that they have the firepower here now.
Popovic and Acevedo, they've had the word, I think, from George Hincapie. This is Popovic on the front, Acevedo in second place. Look at the face, they want to nail it back. There's Christophe Moreau. Hincapie's in an ideal situation there, in about 6th or 7th. You know, there's not many men left in this group. I don't think anybody expected the damage that the Col de Sentinel has actually done.
4th place in line, Cadel Evans of Australia watching. Remember, there are small time bonuses down there on the finish. There is a chance of just snicking a couple of seconds to go into the rest day. Psychologically, that would be a good result for these riders. And just tagging on to the back of the group here is Pietro Cauchioli. You haven't seen much of him, but there you see a counter move coming now from Agri Turble on the far side.
Well, everybody's moving. That one is very much covered by Michael Berger there in the red, white and blue, champion of Holland, looking very comfortable, very aggressive. Hincapie responding to that, but let's not forget, they still have to catch these two men. They are still holding on to their advantage, but it is a very slim advantage. It's 15 seconds. That's not very much.
Under 3 kilometres to go. They've lost 5 seconds in 3 kilometres. If they continue to catch at that rate, the whole field will cross the line at exactly the same time. These are the riders. They're now at 3 seconds. That's about 10. That must have 15 seconds, they're confirming on race radio. Bogart has mastered the attack from the Agri Turbo rider. I think it was Benoit Salmon, but I'm not sure. Well, now they're all back together, 14 seconds.
Well, keep riding, keep riding. He's heard, he probably thinks that now as they get into the outskirts of Gap, the main field are now starting to figure out how to sort out their sprint. They had slowed down a fraction. I can't really call it the main field. It's really a front group of riders, the whole of the main favourites, and they've lost their impetus. This could now smile for the two leaders. All they need is a pause, a slowing down of the tempo in this group for a kilometre. These men will steal the show.
They've just sent an instruction, no motorcycles between the two leading riders in the pack, so we may find our cameraman has got to leave this situation. They want to give them maximum. That's a hard left-hander when you're on full flight, and they're going to have to come round that in the main field behind. And Fedrigo is saying, we're going to make this last, and Salvatore goes with him. It's going to be the tight left-hander. 2 kilometres to go, and they've got round the bend, have they?
They have all got round the bend safely, but it is still locked in at 1:5:15 seconds. Jaroslav Popovic on the front, Discovery. Now they've committed themselves. They want to get these two back. They've got to do it now. They have got to pull them back before the final kilometre if they want their man, Big George Hincapie, to get himself the victory. This man on the front, Jaroslav Popovic, Phil, has had a victory himself so far in the Tour. Today, he is sacrificing himself from the group. 1:03 seconds now, 13 seconds left.
13 seconds. Popovic is trying now to put George Hincapie into a situation to win this in the sprint. It is going to be a desperate finish because they haven't stitched it up yet. As they're racing now across the city of Gap here, these two riders have a chance. Camesso looks over his shoulder. How much effort should he put in now, or should he just wait? It's a difficult decision. He's going to keep watching.
Seasoned professional. He's playing a very dangerous game of poker here. He's sitting on the wheel of the Frenchman. That is 1,000 metres to go. Camesso has ceased working at the front, but behind he probably doesn't know that there's a very hard chase coming.
An attack
over to the left-hand side of the road. That's a bit of a dummy.
They've slowed down as well. This could be the move they were waiting for. Somebody from CSC may have gone there, but you know, Camesso has moved to the front. Not a good position to win at the moment. They're still playing, but they've got a big chance now.
They've not got more than 10 seconds advantage. If they play around too much, if this becomes that little bit too tactical, Phil, in this part of the game, it will all come back together at 500 metres to go. There's still somebody on the front starting to organise it. They're now into the straight. Have they got enough? There is the group.
Any longer, that looks like Jens Voigt might be coming at them here, but it's certainly one of the CSC riders. And now this is a huge gamble here. Camesso wants to win, and he doesn't know what to do about this because he wants to lead out. It could be the big figure of Frank Schleck, also a desperate effort. He nearly catches him. I think they're going to make this. Which one is going to win? Camesso, it's a grimace or a smile on his face. Fedrigo is running the gauntlet, but he's showing great skill here. But you better watch out because Schleck is on the back wheel, and Schleck has got the bit between his teeth at 200 metres to go. Camesso is going to have to open up, and Fedrigo, has he got the legs to give France a third victory? This will be a huge result for Fedrigo, The champion of France, he's won the stage. And what a great finish as they come up to the line, and the sprint for third place. Well, on the line, it looks as though it might be Van der Velde was the man, not Schleck. It was Christian Van der Velde who almost got the win and takes third.
What an amazing ride by Van der Velde to get up there right at the very last minute. Well, that was a real turn for the books. I wasn't sure whether or not they were going to survive, but Salvatore Commesso played the waiting game there, Phil, and did not come up with the goods on that occasion. What a situation the Col de la Sentinel has provided this afternoon. It completely and utterly decimated the main field on the running down towards the finish line, and I don't think anybody expected that it was going to be quite as difficult as that. And riders are still coming in after 45 seconds, but some of the big names will come in a long way further down here this afternoon.
A lot further down, because that, believe it or not, was a very, very hard day of racing today. Here's the riders who sat up on the run-in towards the finish. There's no riders, as far as I know, that are in amongst the challenges for this year's Tour de France caught off the back. They were vigilant, but it was Fedrigo who got the best win ever since he won the National French Championship a couple of years ago, but this will go down as his finest win ever. There he is, Pierre Fedrigo. And I must say, before the mountain, he looked to be in terrible trouble. On the mountain, he was strong. Commesso was outmaneuvered at his own game because he wanted to stay behind. He was forced to go in the lead. And then Fedrigo just came and delivered the winning punch. Look at Van der Velde in the back. Well, this was it was a sprint that really Commesso, you'd have bet on him winning, but he was forced to lead at the most crucial stage of the race. And there you see the rider now, Fedrigo, inspired because he's French. France, I'll have to check, but it's a long time since France won 3 stages of their own tour. Yes, that's for me. What a shame, though, for Christian Van der Velde. We thought it was Frank Schleck, in fact, but Van der Velde secretly is having the greatest tour of his life, and he almost caught them. Here come the boys at the back. Time for a smile. Philippe Pazzato there, because they did their best. It wasn't to be. They've just ridden into the finish on the eve of the second rest day. They've lost 2 minutes and 25 seconds, but they're not going to worry about that. Oscar Pereiro, there'll be no change at all overall in this race, but we'll confirm everything. We'll see the podiums, we'll grab the interviews, and we'll celebrate with France in Gap when we come back after the break. The Tour de France is definitely in the Alps now. See you in a moment.
Your engine knows what it wants. Pennzoil Platinum. Relearn what you know about synthetic at pennzoilplatinum.com.
I want to ride. I want to ride. I want to ride. I want to ride.
I know. Let's go.
The full line of fun and reliable CRFs from Honda. Everyone wants to ride. For monthly payments as low as $39, visit relief.honda.com or ask your Honda dealer about Red Hot Summer Relief.
OLN's having a summer bash, and we're bringing the punch. Every Thursday, it's Fight Night, featuring live bouts and classic clashes. The best little leaguers from around the globe swing for the fences at the Cal Ripken World Series. Plus, World Team Tennis smashes right through to the finals. The Battle of the Sexes explodes on Survivor Vanuatu. And no bash is complete without the beat. The PBR returns with a vengeance. OLN Summer Bash. It's a guaranteed hit.
to aerodynamic principles that keep a Saab jet in the air. Help the Saab 9.5 remain firmly on the ground. Introducing the new 260 horsepower Saab 9.5. Once you've built jets, you don't build just another car. Take flight in the newly redesigned 9.5 sedan for under $35,000.
This week on Wild Over, me and Gorp are down south for an invigorating winter break. With temperatures as high as -30, it's important to keep yourself cool. Antarctica, the biggest party island of them all.
Brought to you by new Smirnoff Ice. New invigorating taste.
Premium malt beverage, please drink responsibly.
Welcome back. This is the city of Gap. The Tour de France has now arrived on its long journey today, stage 14 from Montélimar. A desperate finish by two riders, one from France, one from Italy. The Frenchman outsprinted the Italian, and Christian van der Velde turned in the ride of his life in third place today. This is what happened. The odds were Commentators would have won. He's a sprinter, but he was outmaneuvered by a clever Frenchman who made Commentators lead to the line and then took it. The third French stage win of this year's Tour de France. They've got something to celebrate. Let's have a look at the Honda stage results then. Pereiro, former champion of France, wins. Commentators is second. Christian van der Velde has found the best form of his life this last couple of months. He's got third now. Christophe Moreau finishing in fourth place, and Georg Toschnig there in fifth. Van der Velde, by the way, was the last man selected for Team CSC this year. Stefano Garzelli on his birthday gets sixth place. Christian Moreni is seventh. George Hincapie, we thought he might have got the win. They didn't catch up. He finishes eighth. Cadel Evans, a contender for final overall, doing well in ninth. Alexander Bocharov of Russia taking the top 10 there. Looking further down, Damiano Cunego in 12th. Dessel, still a good sprint for him, even though he sits there in second overall at the moment. I think he's dropped to third now, actually. And Denis Menchov in 14th. Heymar Zubeldia 15th. These are all in the same time. That's important at this stage of the Tour de France. Looking further down as the photo finish comes at us, Marcus Foten will keep his white jersey as best rookie. Another top finish for him in 16th, more importantly in the big pack that mattered. And the same for Carlos Sastre. He retains a high overall position, as does Andreas Kloden, completing the top 20. Let's have a look again at the battle for the line. That was the move. They had to go sooner or later. The peloton was coming at them too quick, and Christian van der Velde, if we'd have gone on just another 500 meters, would have won the stage today of the Tour de France. There he is, making his approach on these two to the line. Well, let's have a look then how it all looks tonight on the Michelob Ultra General Classification. No change at all. All of these men finished together at 7 seconds. Oscar Pereiro keeps his jersey for the rest day. Floyd Landis stays off the pace at 1 minute 29. Cyril Dessel, led for a day in the Pyrenees, sits third tonight. Denis Menchov, he won in the Pyrenees, sits on fourth. And Cadel Evans sweeps up the top 5. 2 minutes 46 he takes deficit into the Alps. Carlos Sastre is sixth. Kloden, who fell back in the Pyrenees a little bit, he sits seventh. Michael Rogers still there from Australia in eighth. Juan Miguel Mercado, who won in Po, is ninth. Christophe Moreau, who is waiting, is still there in 10th. 5 minutes 13 seconds down. Well, there's no victory in Paris this year for Discovery Channel, but Jaroslav Popovic, he's still there in 11th. A magical couple of days, who knows where he could climb to. Marcus Foten keeps his lead in the white jersey, 12th overall. Still they come home. This was the easiest day of the journey through the Alps. The three afterwards don't compare to this. They are so hard. And just look how this race has split up. It's 9 minutes now since the lead across the line, and these riders are losing that sort of time. The Discovery Channel rider, by the way, who just crossed the line there, was Pavel Padronos. He really is a man for the flatlands rather than the hilly roads of the Alps. He won't enjoy the next few days of the Tour de France, but he will enjoy tomorrow because it is a rest day, of course, although the riders will go cycling. Tomorrow we will be on the rest day, and then the next day we will go over the Col d'Izoire. We'll go on to the Col du Lotteret, and then we'll finish on the mecca of them all, which is the climb to the top of Alpe d'Huez. And boy, are we going to see something special then. Oh, what a shame for Christian Valdevelde. I know Christian very well, and I know everybody would have willed him on. I'm just sorry, I thought it was Frank Schleck. Didn't do him justice in the sprint finish there, but it was indeed Christian who took third. So a victory wave, a third French stage victory today. We will head off for another break, and when we come back, Al Trautwig and Bob Roll will put all this into perspective on the eve of the rest day. We'll see you all in just a moment from the Tour de France in Gap.
The infamous Alpe d'Huez, 9 miles, 21 switchbacks. A million will come to see who will conquer and who will crumble. The Tour de France Stage 15, Tuesday live at 7 a.m. on OLN. Brought to you by Capital One. OLN serves up the return of Pete Sampras in the network premiere of World Team Tennis. Sampras and the Breakers take on the 5-time champion Sacramento Capitals. World Team Tennis, next only on OLN.
Your life doesn't have one dimension. Neither should your beer. Michelob Ultra. Because you do more. It does too. Live life to the ultra.
Together, we can make a difference. That's why American Century Investments created Livestrong portfolios. Mutual funds designed to support your goals and also help us support the Lance Armstrong Foundation's fight against cancer, because we believe that when you do something good, it can come full circle.
Contact your financial advisor or American Century Investments for a prospectus that contains investment objectives, risks, charges and expenses, and other information that should be carefully read and considered before investing.
Our workday never ends. I'm not saying our people don't go home or have lives, but ending our workday here doesn't stop our best thinking from moving forward someplace else.
Dynamic networking from AT&T enables collaboration around the world and the clock, so Allen's company is always ahead of market demands, schedules, and the competition. The new AT&T, your world delivered.
Check out the new hit movies you can order on demand, and look what you can order right now.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard.
From the makers of Scary Movie.
Idiot! Hell no, I won't marry you. God!
Date Movie, now on demand.
Make some noise for America.
Dave Chappelle is throwing a party, and you're invited.
Demolition.
Dave Chappelle's Block Party, now on demand. Hit movies without the trip to the video store. On demand with Comcast Digital Cable. The hit movies you want to see are playing this week on in-demand pay-per-view.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard.
From the makers of Scary Movie.
Idiot! Hell no, I won't marry you. God!
Date Movie, now on pay-per-view.
Oh my God.
The pulse-pounding thriller Firewall is now available.
I'm done talking.
Don't miss it. On in-demand pay-per-view. Get it now from Comcast Digital Cable.
2006 Tour de France on OLN is brought to you by Michelob Ultra, live life to the ultra, and by American Century Investments, mutual funds and institutional money management for more than 45 years.
Back live in Gap. That was one hard stage 14. A reminder coming up next on OLN, World Team Tennis, as we wrap up what happened here today. And we saw one horrific crash, and we saw one very good finish from two men who worked hard to get this chance.
Commesso and Fedrigo never shirked their responsibility to the breakaway throughout the closing kilometers, and that gave them a chance to sprint out the stage. It's kind of a shame that one man had to lose. It was Commesso losing, Fedrigo getting a great stage win. But both riders committed to the breakaway throughout the day. They took turns, they shared the workload. That's the only reason they held off the charging pack. Led, by the way, Christian Valdevelde, the American, doing a great ride. He was blocked up against the barriers as he began his acceleration, or he might have had the stage win. He just fell a few meters short.
Now, there is no change in the yellow jersey race. Floyd Landis is still in great position. Did they get out of what they wanted in giving away the yellow jersey today?
Well, there was a lot of teams doing a tremendous amount of work, including K. Deparn. Obviously, they have the jersey. But the sprinters team, recognizing an opportunity, Tom Boonen did not have it, even though Quick-Step did an incredible job to close that gap down. Liquigas also trying to close the gap. They couldn't quite catch, and the sprinters would not even see the finish line because of a very tough climb before the finish.
Well, let's show you who gets the awards today. First off, a Frenchman takes the stage in the Tour de France. That's always big news in this country. Pereiro Federico, again, the second place man, taking it to the line. So he gets the trophy and the awards and the salutations from the huge crowd that is assembled outside the inflated podium here in the Tour de France. One thing about this race, and there's so much amazing stuff, everything you see, every piece of fence, everything is going to get packed up and moved tonight to Alpe d'Huez for what should be an unbelievable stage 15. So Federico takes it over Comesso. Congratulations, Christian Van de Velde from the United States, just missing by 3 seconds, but taking third place.
When we look down the rest of the names besides the breakaway, we see a lot of the GC contenders. Cadel Evans there in 10th on the stage, Menchov 15th, Bocharov, Christopher Nero, Cunego in 13th, Dessel, who sits right behind Floyd Landis there, and Carlos Sastre in the top 20, Jaimar Zubeldia in 16th on the stage. So it was a very tough stage for the GC men, as well as all the riders in the breakaway, just barely holding on to the line, but a very small group at the end.
Those stage results presented by Honda. Let's look back at one of the scary moments of the day on the descent. A little rough patch of road on the inside of the turn. Check out the gravel and check out the results. Look up front first.
The first rider going into that corner, that's Rick Verbrugge. Totally overcooked it, tried to correct before the guardrail. Kenyatta, he goes down, takes Kessler with him, but just in front of them, the first man through that corner going way too quickly was Rick Verbrugge, and he got totally torn up. Kenyatta, broken collarbone, goodbye to the Tour, hello to the ambulance, torn to shreds. There's Rick Verbrugge, that arm covered in blood. This is the toughest sport in the world. Anything can happen. There's the rocks in the helmet from Matthias Kessler after going over the barrier and landing in the gravel. And the breakaway working so well together throughout the day, and then just in an instant they go down hard, and that's very tough images to see. It happens every day in the Tour de France, a very dangerous bike race. Everything on the line, and riders don't want to break unless they absolutely have to.
The latest update we have is that Kenyatta had an injured collarbone. We think it was broken, and as for Verbrugge, we think he had some arm injuries, obviously, and he had a broken leg of sorts. We're not sure exactly what part of the leg was damaged. He was conscious when taken to the hospital. Now, Oscar Pereiro is going to wear the yellow jersey again, given it yesterday by Floyd Landis and Phonak. He will proudly wear it.
Col de Perti earning this, defending it out on the roads. They don't know how long they'll have it, and they want to keep it as long as possible. Oscar Pereiro gets the yellow jersey second day, and that's a great result for Col de Perti.
But again, for all we saw today in stage 14, no change to the overall race for the yellow jersey, and that's the biggest picture you can take in the Tour de France. Presented by Michelob Ultra. Pereiro still in yellow. Landis still 129 back. Cyril Dessel not expected to be an overall factor, but for right now, he's right there. Sastre could, Kloden could, Michael Rogers could.
Jaimar Zubeldia stays in 13th, Fothen there, Popovich still in 11th, Patrick Sinkowitz and Levi Leipheimer still doing a good tour in 15th place. Schreck rounds out the top 20, and Discovery's Jose Azevedo, their other man in the top 20 for the Discovery team.
Quickly, what is Pereiro's weakness that Floyd Landis is hoping to exploit?
He's hoping that he's not riding that well in the mountains. He rode very well consistently throughout the mountains in last year's tour. He's not on the same type of form this year. He hasn't had the great season, and he started in the Pyrenees, the first climbs of the tour, losing a lot of time. Floyd is going to hope that that trend continues, but that's not a foregone conclusion by any stretch of the imagination.
Rest day, what a misnomer. In the Tour de France, everything still will be in motion tomorrow, including all the riders in the race. As we look forward to what comes after the rest day, it can't be more famous in cycling. Alpe d'Huez will be how stage 15 culminates, and there's going to be some climbs before that.
Two big climbs before. You can see the Tour recap special tomorrow on the rest day at 8 p.m. Eastern.
And Tuesday stage 15's coverage ending up in Alpe d'Huez will begin at 7 a.m. Eastern time. That's 4 a.m. out west, so get up early with us. Live expanded coverage as you look at some of the images of the day. Gravel wiping out what was a six-man breakaway, turning it into three. These two took it and made it a two-man race, and Pereiro Federico came from behind Salvatore Comesso of Lampre to take it for Bouygues Telecom. A reminder, World Team Tennis is next. Al Trautwig for Bob Roll, Phil Liggett, Paul Sherwen, Frankie Andreu, Craig Hummer, and Robbie Wrong Way Ventura. That's stage 14. Rest day recap tomorrow. We'll see you early on Tuesday for Alpe d'Huez.